And then what we'll be doing is we will be going through the agenda. So in the order in which you are scheduled on the public hearing notice. So we'll start with Daryl Ward, then we'll go to Elijah Reeves, then Michael Brownell, so on and so forth until we get through our first group of applicants during this first morning session. At that point, we might take a little break and then go to our second batch. After you have appeared before us, you do not need to stay on. Most people jump off. I know you all have busy days and busy lives, so you don't need to stay on. After we get through all of our applicants this morning, we'll be moving into closed session, and then we'll be making a decision on whether or not to forward your application to the governor. If you receive a majority support from the members present, board members present today, your application will be forwarded. If you don't, your application will be denied and you'll receive a letter from the Party Advisory Board in about a month stating that your application was denied and you'll have an opportunity to reapply in 18 months. If your application is forwarded to the governor will make a decision on whether or not to grant you a pardon in sole discretion. If he decides to grant you a pardon, you'll receive the pardon in about a month from today. If he decides not to grant you a pardon, you'll receive a denial letter from the Pardon Advisory Board and you'll be able to reapply in 18 months. A couple of other things. I'm going to go through and quickly introduce members of the Pardon Advisory Board we have here today. So first up, we have Jerry Hancock. Jerry is a former county and state prosecutor, and now he's the director of the Prison Ministry Project. We have Judge Jeff Kremers, who's a retired judge from Milwaukee County Circuit Court. We have Cindy O'Donnell, who is with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and previously with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. We have Nate Holton, who is the director of diversity for Milwaukee County Transit. And we have Noble Ray, who's the former chief of police of the city of Madison and now is a consultant on implicit bias training for law enforcement around the world. I think that is my normal, all of the items I normally go over. Last thing is, I know this can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Don't worry. This is your time to share your story with us. And then after you get done sharing your story with us, the board may have questions for you. We might not. It depends on, we do read through all of your application materials very thoroughly. They've been thoroughly vetted and reviewed multiple times by multiple people. And so this is our opportunity to ask you a few questions and also to hear directly from you. And so with that, we will go to our first applicant. So let's see, Daryl Ward. Daryl, are you there? Okay. Oh, there you are, Daryl.
Good morning.
So you've heard my spiel. Now it's your opportunity to explain, how you got your felony convictions. What happened. We want to know the specifics. What happened afterwards as a result of that, and why you believe that you have earned the chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. So, Daryl, please proceed.
Well, I received a felony for endangering safety. Second degree endangering safety. At the time, my girlfriend and I was in an argument. She locked me out of the door, and I shot through the door trying to shoot the doorknob off, endangering the safety of her and everyone that was in the house at the time. That's so I was charged with second degree of endangering safety. It was a charismatic thing that I did and foolish, young and ignorant and drunk. So that's how I got how I received the sentence of 5 years. It was a 4-year sentence that I received. I did the sentence. I did 20 months. Got out with good behavior. Since I've gotten out, I've been married for 20 years. This is my 20-year anniversary, and I have 7 children now. I'm currently a business owner of my own trucking business. I'm a pastor of a small congregation, church, and I'm currently working on things with a nonprofit organization to help the offenders transition back into society. The reason why I would say that, or I'm I am grateful to have an opportunity to even give an opinion. First of all, I don't feel that I would have an opinion of why I should receive a pardon, but if I am asked that, I will use it as a tool of motivation for the all those that are in the congregation to better their situation, to better themselves, and to press towards a mark of a better lifestyle in their lives. That's why I would say.
Thanks, Mr. Ward. Congratulations on 20 years of marriage. That's a good accomplishment. Any questions from the board? Jeff, and then Jerry.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Ward, and thanks for being
Good
here
morning.
this morning. Mr. Ward, in addition to your, I guess, then girlfriend that was inside when you shot through the door, were there also some children in the house? And if so, how many?
I believe it. Yes, sir. It was children in the house. It was my 4-month daughter, her cousins. I believe it was 3 children in the house,
Okay.
including my own 4-month child, and including her mother and her sister as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Jerry?
Mr. Ward, your application mentioned some of the work you do, or I'm sorry, Pastor Ward mentioned some of the work you do in terms of prison ministry. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. I did work at the House of Correction. I did Bible study at the House of Correction. Several people came out to the church and joined us in the church. And one night I was having Bible study there, and I was greeted by a gentleman that was there at the prison ministry and told me that I'm no better than the prisoners that I'm preaching to, and that I am not to return back to the prison ministry. And from that point on, I wasn't able to return back to the prison ministry at the time because of my felony conviction.
Wow. And tell us about Sons of David by the 8th Ward.
Yes, sir. I am currently in the process of trying to help the inmates transition from the prison, repeat offenders, back into society. And at the time, me being currently a felony, I'm having problems actually getting funds to actually activate the business. So that's why I'm currently in the process of trying to get this thing done right now with 8th Ward. Every time I went to the prison ministry, I was saddened because I could preach a life that they can have, and a place where they can be, and support that they can have when they come out here into society. But I had no place for them to come. And so I was in the process of trying to get things done for them, to support them when they get out, to encourage them that they can have a better life with the education and the help and the support from me and my staff.
Thank you. I would just say that I'm sorry that you're not able to go back into the House of Corrections, because I think it's really powerful when people who've been successful on the outside, having been there themselves, can go in and share their stories. So I'm sorry about that, but thank you for your work.
Yes, sir.
Cindy?
Yes, Mr. Ward, according to the records we have, it looks as though you were revoked twice in 2001 and 2002. What were your issues on parole?
2001, I got married without indicating until my probation officer that I was getting married. That was a violation of my parole. And unfortunately, I was ignorant. I didn't know I was supposed to tell her that. And so I received it. I accepted it. It was a bad choice. And we move on.
And the other time, it looks as though there were two occasions. Was there another incident?
I believe it was just one.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Ward, were you ever in contact with your former girlfriend after the incident took place?
Yes, sir. We have a child together.
Okay.
She's now 24-year-old, Yumika Nakia.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing fine. She's doing great. We're friends, and we are friends to support our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mr. Ward, for appearing with us. As I said earlier, you'll hear from us in terms of the outcome of this process one way or the other in about a
Yes,
month
sir.
from today. So
Yes,
thank you for your time and have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right, next, we will be hearing from Elijah Reeves. So Elijah, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmuting yourself. You've now had the opportunity to see how this works. So now is your opportunity to tell us how you ended up with your record, what specifically happened, what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. So please proceed.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. Well, I have two felonies. My first one was in '99. It was for possession of illegal substance, cocaine. At that time, I was doing things that were, things that I shouldn't have done, and I take wholeheartedly of responsibility of things that I were doing. Just hanging around in the wrong crowd, and that's my fault. But just doing a lot of things that I shouldn't have been doing. I was younger at that time, and so I don't know. But the second one was same thing. I was kind of caught up in some bad ways. Again, hanging with the wrong crowd, and I again take responsibility for that. But I was younger, and as I've gotten older, after I've got over those humps in my life, and really started doing some other things that were more valuable to myself and the community as well. I stopped hanging around certain people that, they're doing the same things. We're doing the same things as well, and so. But I did get through those things. by serving my time with no problems during the time and the probation that was given to me. And since then, I have not been in contact with any law enforcement at all. I've been working hard, doing several things. I own property. I was a barber. Also, at this time, I'm a healthcare worker in the health field. Let's see. I've also been selling cars and being an auto mechanic. My dad, he taught me all those things, and I pursued that. Also, I am helping people out with as far as the healthcare work. I also mentor older guys that they're in some bad drug situations as well, and I try to help those guys work through that. And also, I like to mention during that time of distress in my life, I had been in a motorcycle accident, and that kind of also ended out being a bad thing as far as the medications that doctor had prescribed me. I kind of had gotten addicted to some of the pills and stuff that I was on, and he informed me that it seemed like I was kind of going through those pills kind of fast, and it really that stuff is, you know, it's harmful to everybody. But I worked my way through that as well, and I've been drug free for, I would say, a good 10 years now. And so I've been doing right by my life and by my family, and trying to make everybody proud, and also be a step in my community in the right direction. And also, which the second felony, I don't know if I mentioned that, it was in 2009, which I completed a 42-month sentence as well. No problems again, going through the probation and things like that. But yeah, I don't have any police contact at all. I have a good communications and relationship with my daughter's mother. Also have a grandson and a granddaughter now, so I have some people that I have to look after and see about and make sure they're going in the right direction as life goes. And I need to be a good role model to all these people in my life and the people that I'm around. Let me see. A little bit nervous, you guys.
That's
So
fine.
I may be bumbling a little bit, but I also like to point out that like I said, I'm involved in my community as far as helping individuals with heartache and problems as far as finding housing. I run a household where people that have problems finding housing. I help them out. But I'd like to open up a transitional living for inmates coming out of jail, and also a program for individuals that are having hard time with drugs as well. And so I know that me having felonies, I've already researched some of these things. Me having felonies, I wouldn't qualify for any help or any of these programs that they do offer for individuals trying to help out in that way.
Thanks, Mr. Reeves. I think we'll open it up for questions. So Cindy?
Good morning, Mr. Reeves. I was very impressed with the letter from Project Hope and Northcutt Neighborhood House about your work. Sounds like you're sort of on call for their 911 needs when something dramatic happens. Are you still working for Project Hope?
I am.
I mean, volunteering, I should say, because you're, yeah. Well,
I'm
it's,
on call for them whenever they need me.
okay. Well, it's very impressive, your work there. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, Mr. Reeves, thanks. Thanks for sharing your story with us. I know this is nerve-wracking, but really appreciate you.
I'm sure it's a lot more that I'd like to share, and I'm probably gonna let it slip my mind. Like I say, I'm really nervous here.
No, you did just fine. Don't worry about it. And so, like I said, we look through people's applications materials very carefully, and it's good to hear from people directly. So like I said, the previous applicant, you'll hear from us in about a month, but enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend.
Okay, I'd like to also mention, it's been 2 years from the time I mailed this letter off, 2 years to today. And so I'm happy that you guys responded to me. And again, thank you for the opportunity.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Next up, we're going to be hearing from Michael Brownell. So, Mr. Brownell, you've seen how this works now with the previous 2 applicants. So if you wouldn't mind proceeding in terms of talking a little bit about your story in terms of what happened and what happened afterwards and why you believe you deserve a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. So please proceed.
Yeah, in 1988, I was in a car accident and the other party died, and I was found at fault because I run a stop sign, and I got a felony. And then in 91, I committed a burglary, and I got charged 5 years for that, and did my time. I did 3.5 years. And then I'd like a pardon because I've been 23 years since I've been off parole, and I'm disabled, and I'll need assisted living housing, and that's not available to convicted felons.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Brownell. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Brownell. Mr. Brownell, do I understand that you were on parole when you picked up when you committed the burglary and theft case in Iowa County and you got revoked? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Okay, and then you went to 5 more years in prison on the burglary case.
Yes.
And the burglary involved stealing 12 handguns and 300 rounds of ammunition and then selling that. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Brownell, for meeting with us today. As I've told the previous applicants, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of the process, but appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend. All right, next we will be hearing from May Torres.
Yes.
Thanks for appearing before us today. And so you've heard how we've done this before. So if you could please start just by kind of explaining your story to us in terms of, exactly what happened with your conviction, and then what happened afterwards, and why you believe, in your own words, why you've earned a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers.
Okay. Well, I would like to say good morning to everybody. And it was an unfortunate event that happened on December the 26th in 1985. My son William and Evan was playing in the front room with a bike, and my husband had alcohol and smoking pot. I didn't consume any smoking or all the alcohol at that time. Not that I remember. Michael heard his child holler out and charge out to beating on my son William with his fence. And I went into the bedroom. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. To get him away from my son, but it got the situation escalated. So I went in the bedroom and got a firearm and that was locked up, and asking him to stop and respectfully asking him to leave the house. He pulled down his pants and turned around towards us, and I had snapped and flashback of being abused. I pointed the weapon, trying to scare him, and the weapon discharged, and he was walking into the bathroom. We was paralyzed with fear, and asked people next door to call the police for us. And unknowingly, not knowing that he was shot. And my son went and checked on him and started giving him CPR. And by then, the police had arrived. And the reason for my fear is my husband was an abusive man and was fear not only my son's life, but my own. I was charged with manslaughter. Manslaughter in the heat of passion. And I went to court, and they gave me. I spent one night in jail, and went to court the next day. They put me on probation for 30 months, and gave me 1 year time. And considered that none of my sons. I have 4 sons that I raised up, and all of them right now is grown. I'm 68 years old. Been married now for 21 years, going on 21. And after the review of the jail time and stuff, but it was only regarding my sons not getting in trouble or anything, because that was the judge was looking at more so than he was looking at me and stuff. I didn't have no prior records before this happened. But they threw the 1 year jail time out after knowing my sons didn't get in any trouble. All of them finished high school and now have their own careers and families. I take care of a son that's autistic. He's 47 years old. He's here with me in the home and stuff. And one of the reasons why I'm was wanting to get a pardon is because of the job that I I'm his caregiver, supportive caregiver, and I work with iLife, which is a self-direct program. And because of my conviction, they terminated my my employee and stuff. But if I get the conviction off, because I would like, right now my husband is being his employee because of this situation. But if something happened to my husband, I couldn't no longer work for iLife and stuff. And the program has been really excellent for me and my son. But during the time before, after this had happened and stuff, I seek counseling to rebuild my life spiritually. Went back to school. I had achieved cosmetologist license and also nurse assistant certification. Started while I was attending church, still do. Became an evangelist at my church. My husband was the pastor there, and so we no longer have the church right now and stuff. But I also did go to Milwaukee Achievers Center to help me with my reading. It took a lot of work to try to rebuild my life after that situation. It was unfortunate that happened, and I really wasn't intending for that to happen. But when you make a mistake, you have to pay for them. But I also took action of rehabilitation review and was approved by the state of Wisconsin December the 2nd in 1999. I don't know anything else that I could say.
No, you're very thorough. Thanks, Ms. Torres. Any questions from the board? Jeff?
Good morning, Ms. Torres. Ms. Torres, can I ask your then husband, who was killed in this incident, prior to that, had you ever complained? Had he ever been arrested for domestic violence or convicted or charged with domestic violence with you as the victim?
Not here, because we came from Denver.
Okay. Did it happen in Denver?
We were living there before we came to Milwaukee, and we only had been here for probably about a month. But there, I had put a restraining order against him, still in fear of that, because it seemed like it wasn't giving me the protection that I needed at that because I did that and stuff, because you have to file for divorce also when you put a restraining order. But no, they never. I called out to police numerous times, and they never convicted him of it.
Thank you.
Barry?
Ms. Torres, this happened the day after Christmas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And there's a wonderful letter from Sabrina Johnson about the care you provide for your autistic son. Did you see that letter?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you know Sabrina Johnson?
She's my niece.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a really wonderful letter, and you should be very proud.
Oh, thank you.
Any
I'm
other
proud
questions
of
from
all
the
of
board?
them, tell you the truth. My sons too. They never got in trouble. Never been in drugs or alcohol. Never went to jail or anything and stuff. And they now young men going with their life.
Hey,
Ms. Torres, could you just talk a little bit about how the death of your former husband has impacted you, has impacted your son, and anyone else that cared for him at that time?
Oh, you talking about the one that's autistic?
Yeah.
Well, basically, when it comes to people that's artistic, they don't carry emotions, and he doesn't speak. So it didn't actually reflect on him too much at all that I know of, because I've always been the his supporting person and stuff. So it really did not affect him that I know of, because he doesn't communicate, and sometimes if the things that I had to learn from about him and stuff was basically body language and meeting his needs through knowing that what he needs. So it was kind of difficult. It is dealing with a person that's autistic.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Torres? Thanks, Ms. Torres, for sharing. Sorry, I know it's not an easy one to share, especially in a venue like this, and appreciate your candor with us and your application. And we will be making a decision later today on whether to forward to the governor, but appreciate your time, and you'll hear from us in about a month.
All right. Just one more thing real quick. I just want to say I appreciate that y'all taking the time to look over my application. And now that I'm in my glory years, that I'm 68 years old and stuff, and I'm looking forward and hoping that I receive this pardon. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we will. Oops, let me just. Next, we'll be hearing from Rebecca Presley. So Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind, there you are. Well, you've had the opportunity now to see a couple of people before you. So now is your opportunity, Ms. Presley, to talk about your 2 felony convictions, and in terms of how those occurred, what happened afterwards, and why you believe that, why you're looking for a pardon from Governor Evers. So Ms. Presley,
Okay.
Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Presley, and first and foremost, I want to take full responsibility for all of my actions. I won't sit here and make excuses, and this is just plainly the result of my own dysfunctional thinking and not having any concerns for consequences. I was young. I was just trying to figure out how to get out in the world and make my own mark. And I definitely came out and made the wrong marks. I was 17 years old when I'm 41 now. When I first moved out of my mother's house, we were very sheltered. We only went to church, and there's 5 children. I'm the last of 5. And I finally was able to hang out with my older sisters and brothers. And my first felony, me and my sister, we were driving in the car with a few other of her friends. And I was always just tagging along. And my first felony with the battery to the juror, we were, I believe it's Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, about 20 something years ago. And all I knew is that my sister said in the car, oh, that's such and such, we're gonna get out and fight her. And me being naive and not caring about consequences, we got out the car and we fought her. I did not know the girl, she did not know me. I don't even know why we were fighting her at the time. It wasn't until a few months later, after I was following my sister. She always the one who had the house. She moved to Milwaukee, so I moved to Milwaukee with her. And it was a few months later that we seen on the news that they were looking for these people who jumped a witness for a case. And lo and behold, it was me and my sister that they were looking for. And that's when I found out that she was a witness to my Uncle Paul's case, who had a large criminal history, and he was selling drugs and things like that. So I went to jail. I was caught like a few months later, and I went to jail. And the girl said that Anna is the one who jumped her. She didn't know that I jumped her as well. So I went ahead and took my consequences. And my sister didn't get caught till like, I think 3 or 4 years later. But after that, now I had this felony over my record. Not only is it a felony, it was classified as battery to a juror, which I was young and really didn't understand until every time I tried to place an application. They looked at me like I was some deranged person that jumped across the courtroom and just beat up a juror. So it was hard for me to get a job after that. I've always been highly educated, but it was just hard for me to get a job. So the only way that I was able to really make it, and coming from my background and my family's background, was to sell drugs. I didn't know anything that I was doing. I was extremely naive. My own dysfunctional thinking was, I'm not really hurting anybody. These people have been doing drugs all their life. If they're gonna drive to get the drugs, they're gonna do it anyways. So if I drive and get the drugs and provide it for them, we both win. They get the drugs they're gonna get regardless, and I'm gonna get the money that I need because I can't find a job. That was my own young dysfunctional thinking. So I very quickly, after starting selling drugs, I acquired 3 counts of manufacture and delivery of cocaine. So then I got 10 years on all 3 counts. I did 2 years, 7 months in prison. And then I did the 7 months because I got revocated on the battery to the juror case. So I did 2 years, 7 months in prison. And when I got out, I was just tired. I was tired of I had realized that I had made some very bad mistakes very early on in my life. And those mistakes would never happen again. So I proceeded to move away from my family. I moved away from every bad influence that I ever seen. And I started going to counseling and therapy. I had been seeing my therapist for about 8 years. Well, she's, I believe she lost her license, I think. So I haven't seen her in the last year. But I'm on the path of definitely rehabilitation. In December, I graduate with my associate's degree in human services and also an AODA certification in drug and alcohol, ATODA. I am currently in my internship where I work every single day with drug and alcohol users, and I counsel them, where I try to help them see their dysfunctional thinking. I try to help them see that where they went in their life can always be turned around. It's never too late to turn your life around. This felony being lifted off of my name will break the limitation of the people that I will be able to service. Having this felony removed from my record would offer me to provide support to other adolescents that are in the similar situations that I was in when I was younger. And I can mentor them and I can show them and be an example that even though in the beginning of our lives we make mistakes, that it's never too late to turn around and change that. There's so many people that I would like to reach in my profession. I have so much to offer. In December, I will be graduating, I'm sure again, with another 4.0. I normally average between 3.8 and 4.0 for every semester that I have been in school. I've been nonstop going to school for the last 2.5 years. I have 3 daughters, beautiful daughters, who have actually won awards for the state of Wisconsin. With the science fair and the art fair, my daughter's art was in the Madison for a whole month. So I've been mentoring all my life, ever since I got away from all the bad influences. Me being the youngest child, I felt like, I was just a follower. And even though I would not blame anything on my family, they lived a life they felt like they needed to live. And I made these choices, even though my mother gets mad all the time because she feels like some of the people in my family influenced me. It was an influence, but I still chose to do everything that I done. It was nobody's fault but my own. I take full responsibility. I am not, in no form or fashion, the person that I was at 17 years old. I am 41 years old woman who will be a college graduate within a few months. I have 3 children that I mentor each and every day. They always say I'm preaching to them. They've never been in trouble, and hopefully they never will. In the future, I am not a threat for any type of criminal history. Criminal history has been behind me for over 20 years, and it's just something I would never, it would never be an option in my future. So I would like this pardon so I can just open up I would stop the limitation of me reaching the youth that I want to reach, so I can deter them from going into life that I had.
Thanks, Ms. Presley. Questions from the board? Jeff?
Good morning, Ms. Presley. Ms. Presley, I don't know what's going to happen with your pardon application, but separate and apart from that, I know you mentioned that people see in your record battered you a juror and they think you went crazy and ran across the courtroom kind of thing. And I looked at your conviction. What you're charged with was battery to a witness, which is what you told us you did. And that statute is 940.201.
Okay.
Battery to a juror is 940.20. So when the clerk filled out your judgment of conviction, they missed that last very important one on the statute number. And so your judgment of conviction says battery to a juror, but it has the wrong statute number. It doesn't track with what you were charged with.
Okay.
So I would suggest that you contact the clerk's office and ask them to correct that. So for whatever it's worth, I don't know whether people react differently to battery to a witness from battery to a juror, but I know it jumped out at me when I saw the battery to a juror and thought, that's a very, very rare charge in Wisconsin. And so regardless of what happens with this pardon application, you may want to look into getting that corrected. So
thank you.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Jerry, do you have a question?
Ms. Presley, you had a very good letter from the World of Hope Ministries. Can you tell us about your work with that group?
That is where I'm currently working. There, it's an entity where it helps people that get out of prison. It helps people who have drug and alcohol issues. We do a food bank. We do a clothing bank. Half of the day I do social work. The other half of the day I do drug and alcohol ATO/DA therapy.
Okay, is that part of your internship too?
That is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Ms. Presley, for appearing with us and being very thorough in your presentation. You'll hear from us in about a month, but hope you have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next, we will be hearing from Deanne Evans. There you are, Ms. Evans, if you wouldn't mind just there we go. So you've heard this several times now, so now is your opportunity. So I won't repeat my spiel anymore, so please proceed.
Okay, good morning. And first of all, like the other gentleman said, it's been 2 years since I applied, so I appreciate this opportunity. And so my first crime, I have several, happened in 1999, and it was fraudulent use of a credit card. And so I had used somebody's credit card and bought items. I had 3 young kids at the time, my husband. And so I was living beyond my means, trying to, make sure my kids had all these fancy up-to-date stuff. They were all involved in sports at the high school. So I was trying to keep up with everybody else. And so I fraudulently used a credit card. I got 5 years probation for that. And then in June of 2003, I was coming home from work and was driving, and my license were suspended. And so when the officer stopped me going around the corner, I gave him my daughter's name, and he said, you look young, but you don't look 16. So then they gave me 2 years probation for that, ran concurrent. So that's where the obstructing the officer came in. In 2006, I got free, and that was stupid. Stupid. Everything I've done was really stupid. So what that happened was, we had an escrow check for my house, and I didn't know what it came. And all of a sudden I got some mail, and it was from the bank saying your escrow check and this amount of money has been deposited in the bank. So I was like, escrow check? I didn't see an escrow check. So come to find out, we got an escrow check. My husband put it in his mom's account. She worked at Chrysler. And so they didn't tell me, and she had signed my name for it, and he had signed his name for it, and it was entered in her account. So I got mad, and years later, we were at my son's baseball game, and she rode with us, and I took 2 of her checks. And so I didn't write them for a while, but I wrote out 2 of her checks for the money that they took out the escrow. So then I got the 3 years probation for that, and I got, I think, a day's credit in jail. 2009, retail theft, and to be honest, I don't even remember what that was. I was looking through my records, and I'm not sure. And I got 90 days in jail with Uber, but I'm not sure the story behind that. 2010, I had misappropriative ID. And what that was, I had got, in 2007, I had got addicted to Tramadol, which is a non-narcotic pain reliever. At the time, they said it was non-narcotic. And I called in a prescription. So that's what 2010. 2011, I was at Walmart, and I didn't swipe and ring up everything. And so I got the retail theft for that, which I got a fine. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself, because, I know my past is horrible. I am doing amazing. I graduated from Beloit High School in 1980. I attended UW Stevens Point from 80 to 82. Me and my husband, we started dating in 9th grade. So I've been married 35 years this coming New Year's Eve. He's never been in trouble. So he supported me and stuck with me through this whole thing. So we both went to Stevens Point together. We went to the high school to graduate, went to Stevens Point at the same time, and I got pregnant. So I came back home to Wisconsin. He went on to go to UW Whitewater. So I did not finish college until 2016. I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Concordia University. In 2019, December 14th, I got my master's degree in organizational leadership administration. I will start my PhD in counseling and psychology in January of 2020 through Regent University. I got accepted for a grant program. Just one second, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I saw my charger look like it was gonna go dead. So I got accepted for a grant program. I'm sorry, I got accepted for a grant program through Concordia, and it's for opioid use, and I am a social worker for the Department of Children and Family Services in Illinois. I work at H&R Block, been there for 10 years as a tax pro assistant. So this coming up year will be going into my 11th year at H&R Block. I am Booster Club president at Beloit Memorial High School. I'm in a sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, which is the same sorority our vice president is in. I am a member of the Order of the Eastern Star in Beloit. I'm just really involved in the community. I have 3 adult children who all have master's degrees. They all live in 3 different states. Everybody's doing well. And I would like this pardon because I know I have really done an amazing job. And like I said, what I was doing, and it still wasn't right at all, is trying to live beyond my means and trying to give my kids things that other kids have. They didn't want for anything, and that was because I was committing these crimes. So, me and my kids, we have this conversation about this all the time, about that person that I was back then. And I'm born and raised in Beloit, well trusted, well respected in the community. And like I said, I'm very involved at the high school. I have completed, when I was on probation, I completed a criminal thinking program. My probation officer, her name was Michelle Eggers. Wonderful, wonderful lady. And I seen her at the street dance here in Beloit, and we always hug each other and, hi, how you doing? She would have wrote me a letter, but she said they couldn't because of her being a probation agent. My 3 children wrote letters. My boss at H&R Block, Thierry Garcia, also wrote a letter. I'm not sure how many other letters, but I know I sent quite a few. So what this pardon would do for me is help me open up. I would like to run for school board. When I start my PhD in January, I would like to get involved, eventually get my license to do counseling. When I got my bachelor's degree working in criminal justice, all I knew was that I wanted to work with at-risk youth. And so when I got this job working with Department of Children and Family Services, I love it. I see both sides, and it's so funny now because I can go in the courtroom and get calls from state's attorney and judges, and I was on the other side at one time. So I am grateful for my job. They know my background. I had to do fingerprinting, and then Governor Spritzer, he had to sign off on a waiver saying it was okay for me to have that position as long as my job okayed it, and they signed off. So that's how I got my license. And I think that is about it.
Thanks, Ms. Evans. Questions from the board? Cindy and then Noble.
Morning, Miss Evans. A lot of the applicants that we see here with the board committed their offenses when they were very young. And yours started when you were 37 years old and then went for a decade of crimes really involving fraud and dishonesty. So can you talk to us about that? What led to that for you?
Like I said earlier, it was because, my key, and I'm not saying I was trying to live beyond my means. I was trying to, like, when the credit card, my kids play sports at the high school, very popular. So if they wanted this, then that's what, so I was just, everything was like financial and just trying to give my kids everything, which it doesn't make sense. But, as I was going over this last night, I was like, oh my goodness, but it was, I was lying, I was, doing the forgery, I did the credit card, and, let me just say this. So I had a conversation with my middle daughter, who is 36, and we were talking, and she said, Mom, when we were coming up, I thought we were rich. And I said, because I was doing that. And so, my kids know the story. Like in 2006, that one of my incidents, in 2003, I was supposed to be going to her track meet. So my husband went, and then when he got to track meet, first thing she said was, "Where is mom?" And he had to tell her, "I got arrested and I was in jail." So I have a story, and this is my story, and I'm not ashamed to tell it. Everybody in Beloit, like I said, I'm kind of well known here. They know my story, and so many people tell me they're so proud of me because, going back to school, getting my degree, and then now working in child welfare. And so when I talk to these kids, I have a story because I was there at an adult age, though, I mean, I just hate that, had to wait till I got older, but
Thank you.
yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
and it seems like we're going 100 miles an hour, and I would really like you just to take just one step and
Okay.
step back and think,
Okay.
what difference will a pardon mean to you in your life? You're a very accomplished woman already. So what difference will this make?
Okay. So I set these goals for myself, and the goals were to go back to school, to get my degree. And the next one was to get a pardon, just so I'll know that I'm free. It's always going to be with me. I'm always going to know that I committed these crimes, but it's going to set me free. And, I'm outside on the deck because my mom had died 16 years ago in 2006. So my 84-year-old dad moved in 2 years ago. And all last night, he said, "You nervous?" I said, "Yeah, I'm nervous." He said, "Baby, you'll be okay." But it'll let me know, like, Daddy, I did this. He is so proud of everything I have done, going back to school, getting a degree. And so getting a pardon will help me grow. Even though I'm in my 60s, next month I'll be 60, it'll help me grow and do some more things in the community I want to do, but it'll set me free, just to know that it was one more goal that I accomplished, and that is, a pardon.
Thank you.
Yes.
Barry?
Ms. Evans, just to be clear, I think your pearls are a symbol of your sorority, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Kamala Harris taught me that.
Yes, and this is too.
Oh, okay.
A pinky, yes.
And do you know Charlie Tubbs?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes.
How do you know Charlie Tubbs?
I know Charlie Tubbs. Gosh, when I was in high school, his wife Cindy, they were dating back then, and I was friends with Charlie's sister Barbara, and I used to go over there and spend the night. Yeah, so I know Charlie very well. And Noble, I also know. I don't know if you know Stephanie Bradley Peterson. Yep, that's my aunt. She was married to my uncle. So yeah, I know a lot of people.
I think I first met Charlie Tubbs almost 30 years ago when he was he was a captain in Beloit and was running the Midnight Basketball League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband coached it back then. That was years ago. Yes. Yeah, but I know Charlie Tubbs very well.
Good. And you're able to work as a social worker in Illinois because you got a waiver for the felonies?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So what had happened, I applied for the job and they sent me to Springfield for my training for 2 weeks. And while I was at Springfield, my background came back. And so my boss told me, they were okay. I told them the stories. So then like a week later, I got a letter from the governor, and it just had the box. It had like several boxes that could check, like, would not be able to work in this field or blah, blah, blah. And so he checked on mine's, waived, and I don't know the exact wording, but it was basically saying as long as the employer wanted to hire me, he was okay with it.
Okay.
And yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from the board? Jeff?
Yeah, good morning, Ms. Evans.
Good
Ms.
morning.
Evans, it looks like on the documents we received that you had a couple more felonies, one from Rock County in 1981 for forgery and misdemeanor theft. You got 5 years probation. And then another felony in 1984 for forgery. Is that correct?
I don't know. No, because the ones I got is, and I even looked on CCAP last night because to make sure I was going through everything.
Okay, well, I know we're checking on that to see, and sometimes we get records, names. You don't have a terribly uncommon name, so it's possible it was somebody else and that just got conflated with your records. So we're
Yeah.
checking on that, but I just wanted to ask you and see
Okay.
what you.
Yeah, I'm not. When did you say 84?
81 and 84, but we'll look into it.
That would not show up on CCAP that early on.
Okay,
Um,
81.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on CCAP, but it would be
Yeah.
in the, so we'll look
Okay.
into it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Ms. Evans, for appearing with us. And you heard me say to the other applicants, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the application process, but appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
All right, and looks like we have one more applicant for this first batch, Erica Hintz. Let's see if Erica is on. Looks like, not sure. So what I think we'll do is we have a little bit of time until our next batch. So I think what we'll do is we'll reach out to make sure Erica is on board. If it's okay with the board, maybe we'll take a 5-minute break and then we'll see if we can connect with Erica. And then we'll, hopefully by the time we get through Erica, we'll be ready for our 10 a.m. batch of applicants. Does that sound good to everybody? All right, so we'll reconvene at 9:45 and we'll have Gov staff reach out to Erica. So thanks.
The deal in here is oh man.
All right, so we'll get started in just a minute here. Wait for the rest of the board to get back. All right, let me see. Looks like we have one person listed just as iPhone, so be good if you could just, oh, there we go. All right, it looks like we still don't have Erica. So just Erica Hintz, are you on? All right, looks like we don't have Erica, so hopefully we'll be able to get a hold of her and come back. So we're running a little bit ahead of schedule, which is a good thing. So what we will do is we'll start diving right into our 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. group, and we'll work our way through those folks. And then if Erica jumps on, we'll go back to her. And then looks like she's dialing in right now. So we'll start with our first person, our 10 a.m. group. Otherwise, I'll go through my normal spiel when we get new people. And then around 11:30, we'll be moving into closed session so that we can deliberate on this morning's applicants. So for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. My name is Ryan Elsisto, and I'm chair of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. The other members of the board we have with us here today are Jerry Hancock. He's the director of the Prison Ministry Project and a former county and state prosecutor. We also have Judge Jeff Kremers, who is a retired judge from Milwaukee County Circuit Court. We have Noble Ray, who is the former chief of police for the city of Madison and is now a consultant on implicit bias training for law enforcement agencies. We have Cindy O'Donnell, who is with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections in the Secretary's office and previously was with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. And we have Nate Holton, who is the director of diversity at Milwaukee County Transit. So a couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, we are live streaming this on Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. We're also on YouTube, streaming this on the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board channel. So just keep that in mind. In addition to that, in order to preserve audio quality, if you can just make sure that you are muted until you are called up. And also it helps if you turn your camera off until you're called up so that we know who we're talking to. When I do call your name, we'll be going in the order that you're listed on the public meeting notice for today. I'll call you up, unmute yourself, turn your camera on because we do like seeing your face when we're chatting with you. Each of you will have about 10 to 15 minutes with us, but it does vary depending on your background and your story. During that time, we sent you some questions to answer, but in short, we want to know why you ended up with either your conviction or convictions. If you have multiple convictions, we want to hear the specifics about it. We want to hear exactly what happened afterwards, and we want to hear about why you believe you have earned the chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. When we meet in closed session as a board, we will be voting on whether to forward your application to the governor. If you receive majority support from the board members present here today, so that means you receive 4 votes, your application will be forwarded to the governor. If you don't receive majority support, your application will be denied. You'll receive a letter from the Pardon Advisory Board in about a month from today, stating that it's been denied, and you'll be able to reapply in 18 months from the date of the letter. If you do receive majority support, your application will go to Governor Evers. He'll make a decision in his sole discretion about whether to grant you a pardon. If he decides not to grant you a pardon, you'll receive a denial letter in about a month from today, and you'll be able to reapply in 18 months from the date of that letter. If governor does decide to grant you a pardon, you'll receive a pardon from the governor in about a month from today, give or take. So those I think are my main housekeeping items. It looks like we do have Erica with us now. So Erica,
Yes.
as you probably heard me say, now is your opportunity to share your story with the board. So again, if you could tell us a little bit, go into some of the specifics about how you ended up with a criminal record, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you've earned the chance to receive a pardon. So please proceed, Erica.
I was convicted with a felony charge for theft. This was when I was in high school. I just turned 17 years old. A friend, excuse me, a friend of mine, we decided to, steal a credit card from a teacher and use it to go shopping. We also, we were just going through people's lockers that were unlocked, and my friend of mine, the person that I went with, Jenny, she worked at Century Food at the time, and took this individual's check and cashed a check. It was we went to we skipped school and went to a couple stores that were in the area, and bought a couple items. I went with and I was involved with everything. Jennifer Moker is her name. She's the one that signed the majority of the purchases and also the checks that she cashed. We just made a young kids to make mistakes, and I've had this this offense hanging over my head for 20 plus years. It's I feel that not that I learned anything from it, but it did. I did, because the choices that you make, even if you are a child, or a young adult, they stick with you. And I made a mistake, and I'm not angry about that I got charged with anything or not. I just I tried to move forward and with my life, just did what I had to do as far as restitution, and I was on, I had to go and visit my PO, and just finished high school, because I believe I had a year left, and then that was my senior year, I believe. Finished high school, got into college my first year at Whitewater, and then I transferred to UW-Milwaukee because they had a better business program. I graduated from college, and I was working with a company, FEI, which works for a nonprofit organization, Children and Families, in Menominee Falls. My husband got transferred to Kenosha. He got a new job as a deputy sheriff with Kenosha, here in Kenosha. Meanwhile, I was pregnant with twins. We moved here to Kenosha. I had to stop working at FBI because we decided, my husband and I decided not to have childcare. So it was a little rough with having only one income, but it was our decision, and I'd like to go back to work, and it does hinder because I having this on my record, it hinders the jobs that I'm able to get and to apply for. My mother had a real estate company, and I wasn't able, I did work with her, just helping out, but I wasn't able to get my my license as a real estate agent or even a notary public. I was also looking into furthering my degree in business administration. Actually, this was last summer, and they also require to submit, and they do a background check to get your master's, because I wanted to go into maybe getting teaching, because with all the virtual stuff going on right now, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of people and young kids, and also, all the way through high school, that need this additional help if they are uncomfortable with, COVID. So I thought that would be useful for me to, try to contribute to the community. And it's working from home, it's helping, other, kids out, but in that respect, I'm not able to do that as well. I just want to, I was hoping to get a pardon to try to go back into the workforce and in these areas, but currently I'm not able to.
Great. Thanks, Ms. Hintz. I'll open it up for questions from the board. Do any board members have questions for Ms. Hintz? Jerry?
Ms. Hintz, what happened to Jenny?
Actually, she didn't get charged as an adult, and she was actually older than I was. I was a majority of my of the convictions were party to a crime. She's a nurse and she lives in Wauwatosa. The last that I heard from friends on Facebook that I went to high school with, and I just thought that they just asked, and mutual friends just said, "Oh, what's she up to?" And she's married. She has her degree in nursing, and
any idea why you got charged? You got charged with 12 counts. and she got nothing?
Well, she got charged, but she got charged as a juvenile.
Ah,
So that's, that's the only thing that I didn't understand, that why I was as an adult and she got charged as a juvenile. That was kind of, I don't know.
okay, all right, because you were 17 at the time, right?
I just turned 17, correct?
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Hintz, for dialing in. It was appreciate you sharing your account with us. And as I said earlier, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of today's process. But I appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. Bye.
And one other housekeeping item I think I forgot to mention at the beginning is you do not need to stay on after you appear with us, so feel free to hang up. Jeff?
I didn't want to interrupt you
No, that's it.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I will be recusing myself from Mr. Medrick and Mr. Poe's cases since I acted as a judge on some of their underlying matters. So I don't think it'd be appropriate for me to take part in the evaluation of their applications.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, so next we will be going to Jason Roscoff. So Jason, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmuting yourself.
Yes, thank you.
You've now seen how this works. So Jason, if you could, as you heard from the previous applicant, if you could describe in terms of how you ended up with your felony conviction, circumstances leading up to that, and then also, what's happened since then and why both, immediately after that, and then why you believe you've earned a chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers. So Jason, please proceed.
Sure, and I documented this in my application. I get a little bit emotional sometimes repeating it, but I'm an adult male adoptee. My early 20s, I was pretty poor, living like at or below the poverty level in a not a good part of the city. When I had made contact, or she made contact with me, my biological mother, and she offered me what seemed like a better situation to move to Whitewater and start attending university there, and that she'd help me with housing. I kept my regular job during the day, but I attended some college classes there at night. I thought it was going to be a much different situation than it was. My presence in Whitewater at that time caused a lot of conflict with her and her then husband, David, who I guess had bad conflict with my biological dad before he moved away. So there was a series of events. Nancy and David separated from each other. There was either some really strange coincidence, or else David had been sending some people to try to hurt me. He had stated that I reminded him of my biological father, and it was ultimately a firearm violation. I don't know if it wasn't self-defense, and it didn't try to injure anyone. It was recklessly endangering safety, second degree. It was on my birthday, and I'd gone out with my family. There was an injunction against David at that point, but that he had been violating. And I brought a handgun with me in the side pocket of my shorts, thinking that it could be used as a deterrent. If David were to show up and try to do something. I stayed with my biological family for a number of hours that night. They went home, and I decided to go to a different bar. But as soon as I got into that bar, I was being disparaged by one or more people, a lot of different disparagements, and it got kind of aggressive. I ended up pointing it at him and thinking that it was someone from David. But he told me to put my toy away and get out of there. I think he thought it wasn't real. So I put it back in my pocket and did leave. As I left, I fired a shot into an upward angle in the corner into the beer sign at the bar. And and then left. I was arrested after that and charged with second-degree recklessly endangering safety, which I pleaded guilty to. I spent about 7.5 months in the Huber facility in Walworth County. When I left there, I ultimately ended up leaving Whitewater. I had been working in an IT background, and I continued to do that I still do to this day. I have actually spent the majority of my life trying to become a part of the solution as a part of the problem. Today, I work as an expert witness for forensic analysis for quite a number of court cases. When a colleague passed away a couple of years ago, on his deathbed, he asked me if I would do what he was doing, and I told him yes. I have largely picked up what he was doing, except I have not been able to renew his license, his private investigator license, due to the fact that I have the felony conviction. The application on the very first page says that if you've ever been convicted of a felony and not pardoned, your application will be denied, and that there are no exceptions. So I have not been able to renew his license. So a lot of the stuff he was doing, I ended up having to refer to other individuals, other companies. If I did receive a pardon, that would also open up the possibility where I could work for the DOJ or one of the counties in their forensic unit. There's a big shortage right now of digital forensic people, or a lot of digital forensic experience. I designed an app years ago that for private security guard management. I understand phones better than anyone who I've met, and I've been very helpful in a lot of court cases. But this has been a major impediment to me. I started my own business, or I went in business for myself with a business partner. Now I have my own business. I bought his part of it, but that was in 2000, I believe in 2005 or 2006. I had to do that because I had never had a problem obtaining work after my conviction, up until it was a number of years, maybe 8 years or 10 years. But when Walworth County loaded their records into CCAP, then at that point I was never offered another corporate job again. But I have done relatively well on my own, reinventing myself to do whatever I can do and wherever I can contribute. I know that I have a lot more to contribute. If I could get a pardon, a lot of the jobs are just barred to me right now. I work primarily on data recovery, sometimes for the DOJ, sometimes for a county. Like if there's a phone that was thrown in a pond or something, and they dredge a pond and they need the data out of it, I do that. There's only 2 data recovery companies in southeastern Wisconsin. I operate one of them. I know I could be very good for like a sheriff's department or or the DOJ in a forensic analysis role, but that's just no possibility. You can't even apply for that job if you can't be sworn in as deputy of some type.
Thank you, Mr. Ruskoff. Questions from the board? Cindy, and then Jerry.
Yes.
Couple of questions. Good morning. Part of your sentence, you were ordered to write a letter of apology to the victim within 2 weeks after.
Yes.
So was that the bar owner, or who was the victim in your?
The bar owner, because it was his property that was damaged.
Okay, and did you write that letter, and what did it impart?
I wrote it immediately. I actually told him I don't know if my probation officer liked it that much, but he was sincere. I told him I had wanted to come like the very next day to apologize and try to make amends. Like the day after that, I did that, but I was told that it was not a good idea, and that I was sincerely sorry, and I would make it up to him if there's any way that I could.
Okay. Second question, you say that you were denied a pardon in 2005, and you mentioned this governor's 3-member board. I'm just a little confused about that.
I don't know how many members. I thought it was 3. It could have been more than that.
Okay.
There was one person that did all the talking, and almost all the talking. And I think there was one person doing the introduction and only one person that asked me questions. Those are the ones I remember. I honestly try to remember. I can't remember how many people were on that board.
Do you remember what the reason for the denial was?
He told me the listed reason I got in the letter said that it was too serious, but what the speaker told me was a little bit different than that. He said that, he said, you'll understand that in your life, 8 years or 10 years or whatever it was, might seem like a long time, but in his life, it didn't seem like that long. And the gentleman that went right ahead of me was actually much older, and he said, do you understand why he might deserve a pardon more than you? I really didn't, but I didn't argue about it.
Okay. One more question, if I may.
Okay.
So in one of your letters of support, it mentions that you have 4 rental units that you take care of. What's that experience like for you? How do you enjoy that?
That has been very difficult. And I attribute a large part of that to myself. Part of the problem was that when I purchased them, they've been neglected for a long time. I did have a bunch of problems with a few tenants. It's better now. I know why that was. I attribute that to myself. I did a very poor job on the background checks. I should not have rented to these folks. The one that actually caused the most problems had actually given me a real previous address on her application, but lied about who the landowner was. And we had lots of issues. If I had done those background checks right, I would not have had those problems.
And so this conflict you had with tenants, it has not continued currently, or?
No, it's not continuing at all now. It's a total peace there. It had continued until a few months ago, where there was a problem between the dogs. I live on a small farm, and it was pretty complicated. We have a livestock guardian dog. We raise chickens, and it's a Great Pyrenees. It's a livestock guardian dog, and the dog does guard 2 flocks of chickens. The lady in Unit B had an emotional support animal that didn't like chickens, and had gone after some chickens at one point, and so the livestock guardian dog was not going to like it. I ultimately had to build a kennel and keep my dog, or mine and my significant other's dog kenneled, and we did lose a lot of our chickens, but that was not a good rental decision there. Yeah, that was the one where I did not do the background check right, or I would not have rented to that person. The other tenants I inherited, and I got a very good deal when I bought the places. I think that the previous landowners, and I'm still good friends with them, but the previous owner of that property, they went out of their way to make sure that I could buy it. I mean, it's basically a land contract for the whole down payment, but they were having problems with their tenants also, and didn't know what to do with it. But it's all cleaned up now. There's all good people there. There's no complaints from anyone.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Roscoe, let's go back to the night of the in Whitewater at the bar. You went to 2 bars that night, correct?
Yes.
And you took a loaded gun into both bars, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you, at the same bar, you were upset because someone was disparaging you.
Right.
And you pulled the gun to essentially threaten him. Correct?
It was not the same, not exactly. It was not the same person that I thought I had to worry about. That was, one person was making the disparagements, another one had gotten pretty threatening with the body language. I think they knew each other, and I was not really intentioning to, I guess it could be considered as a threat, but I had still had broken ribs from I think a couple of weeks prior, whenever that it's in my application, a random person that I thought might be associated with David injured me pretty badly. If that person would have even pushed me, I would have probably fallen over. It's not a good excuse, but I was worried about defending myself more than threatening.
Okay, so you felt justified in pulling the gun?
Not necessarily. No, I knew it was wrong, but I was afraid.
Okay. And then you left the bar
Yes.
and you were upset when you left the bar.
I guess I was upset, but it wasn't necessarily an anger kind of upset.
Okay. Were you drunk when you left the bar?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. And so you fire one shot into the bar and damage a beer sign.
Yes.
Okay. And you're asking for a pardon because you were drunk and upset and had been carrying around a loaded gun in 2 bars in Whitewater and fired a shot, but only did property damage. And you're asking for a pardon. Would you still be asking for a pardon if that shot that you fired into the bar when you were drunk and upset had hit and killed somebody?
Absolutely
Would you
not.
still be asking for a pardon?
Absolutely not. No.
Why not? I mean, the same logic would apply, right?
I
What
didn't-
would be different if you killed somebody?
It was at an angle up. There were no people in that area. In my mind, in retrospect, it put people at risk, but I mean, if I'd kill somebody, that would be irredeemable. Right?
Okay.
Like, you know,
Thank you, Mr. Roscoff.
Any other questions from the board? One final question for you, Jason. Your attorney wrote a letter responding to this, but just can you provide a little bit of context about it? Is, the district attorney, who wasn't the district attorney who prosecuted, but you mailed a notice form.
Yes.
DAs change, and especially when you have a crime or a conviction from 1997, there gets to be new DAs, and DAs move on, retire, so on and so forth. So the current DA wrote, in opposition for you receiving a pardon, saying, the defendant was intoxicated, fired a shot, et cetera, et cetera. But then the second sentence, the defendant was reportedly making statements to other patrons about quote unquote Hail Hitler while at the bus, period. Do you know what is that about? Can you fill me in?
yes, that's embarrassing, and I'd forgotten about that part. That the bar owner's son was the one that actually told me that he owned the bar, even though he didn't. He had I said disparagements. He said, he knew I was adoptee. He knew all the people had known each other for a long time. Called me a lot of things in a short period of time. He called me a product of incest, called me an effing Nazi bastard, and lots of pretty hurtful things in a short period of time. I could not respond to them all. I think I just pushed that one back at him. I probably did say that. I'm not even German, Irish actually, but I have an ethnic German last name because that family adopted me. But I've never been a Nazi. That I just kind of shoved that one right back at him, like to say, Jeff, fine, I'm whatever you want me to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thanks for being candid with us, Mr. Roscoff. As you heard me say now a couple of times, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process.
Okay.
But hope you have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, our next applicant that we'll be hearing from is, let me see if we have George Medrick on. Doesn't look like we do yet. All right, so we'll follow up with Mr. Medrick. Then let's see if we have Dominic McFerrin. Looks like then we'll jump to you. So, all right, here you go. So Dominic, you've seen this a couple of times since you jumped on a little bit early. So now is your opportunity to explain your felony conviction and your criminal misdemeanor. So please proceed.
Okay, so in the summer of 1999, I was 17, not doing good things all the time. So I had a friend who worked at a dealership. He said I guess he parked them at night, and so he said he left some keys in there. We could come and drive them around. So a couple of buddies of mine went up there at night. Sure enough, the keys were in the unlocked car. We drove them off the lot. Drove around for a few weeks. Then one of my friends decided it was a good idea to sell one of the cars to someone. He took a check as payment, which also was not the smartest idea. So needless to say, we were all arrested for retail theft. A buddy of mine was, he got his reduced to a misdemeanor. And 2 other people were all convicted of retail theft. I forgot what class it was, but I know it's now been reduced, the level of felony that I had before. On the retail theft, that was honestly about 3 weeks before the take and drive without consent. I was working at Best Buy, and I think it might have even been that friend who worked at the dealership. So I passed some merchandise without paying, kind of a quid pro quo thing. And I was actually gonna get that one expunged, but then of course I got arrested for the take and drive. So that one stayed on my record as well. Since then, I completed my probation, which was 3 years. I had to do community service, which I did with the Boys and Girls Club, the Houghton Youth Center here in Milwaukee. I also volunteered at Camp Anytown. Did that over 2 summers. I graduated from college with an undergrad in business administration. I worked in retail management for a few years after that. Decided I wanted to work with kids. Been a passion of mine since I was in high school. So I went back and got my master's degree in special education. This is currently my 10th year as a special education teacher. I've worked for Milwaukee Public Schools, the Glendale School District, and now Shorewood. I have 3 kids, ages 5, 9, and my oldest will be 15 on Monday. I've gotten married, been married for 16 years to my high school sweetheart. She is a nurse practitioner. And so basically I'm applying for a pardon today because I would like to go into administration eventually, either as a special ed director, assistant principal, maybe eventually principal. But just talking to employers with this on my record, it's almost impossible to do. I was fortunate enough to even get a teaching position. When I initially applied for Milwaukee Public Schools, I was denied twice. I had to write several letters, have people write letters on my behalf just to get an emergency license to teach. And so it's been a rough path, just trying to, find a job. Luckily, I've been doing okay, but I would like to further my career. And I think a pardon would definitely help me do that. I'd also like to serve in a jury eventually. I know it's one thing you cannot do with a felony on your record. And I just want to know, maybe for my kids, so, they can see that, dad made some mistakes when he was younger, but he's atoning for him, and now hopefully he can be forgiven. And that's pretty much my story.
Thanks, Mr. McFerrin, and thank you for your work as a special ed teacher. It's not easy, but it's very good and very important work. Cindy?
Mr. McFerrin, I read your application, and you're 39 years old now, and this is what struck me. You had 1 bad month.
I did.
Right? I mean, 2 things happened in 30 days. And other than that, you have really lived a crime-free life. So one question, you say in your application, you're not even sure you're a gun person, but you may want to get a gun and you want a pardon for that. Can you just...
Well, it's not really for me. My wife, she wants to have a gun. That's the main thing, because her family, they're really big in hunting. And so we can't have them in the house, though, if you're a convicted felon. So it's not really for me. Okay. And again, if she was going hunting, I guess I'd go with her, but no.
Okay.
That's not my primary reason for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Jerry?
Mr. McFerrin, how did a kid from Milwaukee end up at Lane College?
In Tennessee?
How did that happen?
I think that was my mom's idea. So
Oh.
basically, she knew I wasn't doing great in Milwaukee, so she wanted me to get as far away from my friends as possible. So that's where I went.
Well, and that's an HBCU, right?
It is, yep.
Yeah. Well, and usually we don't pay a whole lot of attention to college transcripts, but I was sort of skimming yours, and I can certainly understand getting a D in advanced drawing. That would have been me. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. McFerrin? All right, well, thanks, Mr. McFerrin, for appearing before us. I think we all have at least one of those grades on our college transcripts. I won't tell you what I got in accounting. So appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. You have a good day.
Thanks. All right, next on our agenda, we will go to, let me see, it looks like we do have George Medrick. So Mr. Medrick, now's your opportunity to appear before the board. Just give you a quick recap in terms of what we're looking for is want to hear from you in terms of your story, in terms of, how you ended up with your criminal record, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you have deserved a chance to receive a pardon. And just as one, I know you're appearing by phone, but we do have Judge Jeff Kremers as a member of the Pardon Advisory Board, but he will be recusing himself because he was involved in your case at some earlier stages. So Mr. Medrick, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself, and then please proceed. Just give him a minute here. All right, there we go, Miss. Yep, we can hear you now. So,
okay, great.
Yep, so please proceed, Mr. Medrick.
Yeah, hi, my name is George Medrick, and I really don't know where to begin here. I've made some mistakes in my younger days, and since then, I've been a union iron worker for the past 25 years. I am disabled now. I live in Greendale. I got two beautiful children, one in the Marine, one in the health field. And I'm asking, for a pardon, not only for myself, but that's to clear my name for my children. And I've turned my life around. I made foolish mistakes in my younger days, and I'm not blaming nobody but myself. I work. I don't drink or smoke. I've turned my life around. I'm into the health, in the health field. I work out daily, and just asking for a chance to clear my name.
A couple of questions for you, Mr. Medrick.
Yes.
Can you talk about, so in 1986, you had a felony conviction for breaking into a restaurant and stealing some frozen foods and a box of frozen shrimp of all things.
Yeah, yes.
Can you tell, it looks like your probation was revoked. Why was your probation revoked?
Yeah, that was walking home from a bar. The place was already, the window was busted, the boxes were on the ground, and I helped myself to a box of frozen shrimp, and at this time the police were on their way and apprehended me. Mm-hmm. I cannot recall why the probation was revoked 1986. I really can't. Okay. I have completed all my terms. Besides that, my probation, the incarceration time, I never had any issues. I took schooling and classes and courses to better myself. I was a welding instructor, which led me to become a union iron worker upon my release.
Sure. And then can you tell me a little bit about the 1990 conviction for you have a felony for endangering safety by use of a dangerous weapon? Looks like you approached a man who was with after seeing your ex-girlfriend, and you both hit him, it struck him with the gun, and then also fired the shots. But then can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I was trying to protect myself. I didn't fire at them, but up in the air.
Okay.
That is correct. And yeah, they were gonna jump on me, and I was merely trying to protect myself. And once again, I was under the influence of alcohol. It was foolish, and it was stupidity.
Okay. Questions from the board? Other members of the board? Just one final question, I guess I have for you, Mr. Medic. Can you talk a little bit about just kind of what was happening in terms of, you know, there was quite a few times it looks like you were arrested, but there was no prosecution back in the, you know, late 80s and early 90s. So for example, there is looks like you're arrested for misdemeanor battery in 88, again in 89, either time you were charged. In 91, there is you're again arrested for misdemeanor battery, but no charge. And then again in 94. What was going on in your life at that time?
Either it was domestic violence. I was involved in partying. I drank a lot, and just everything in my life at that time was involved in alcohol. In my right state, sober, nothing like that would have ever happened, and that's probably one reason why I no longer drink to this day. And alcohol had a large part in all of that had happened. And if that never would have happened, if I was never drunk, none of that would have ever happened. And that's where my problems came from, and that's what led to the foolishness that I had done back then.
How long have you been sober?
Over 20 years. I don't drink. If I go out, on New Year's, I might have some punch. I might have a margarita, which I can't even recall I had the last one. I haven't drank in over 20 years. Don't drink or smoke. I'm in the health field. I work out daily. Hurts or not, it's what keeps me away from the negativity in life. Even friends that I talk to this day, they're still involved in that. I try to preach them and tell them a better way. And when I see the negativity is what helps keeps me strong to stay away from things like that. I'm in the health. I work out every day. I don't drink and smoke or nothing. I haven't drank in over 20 years.
All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Medic, for calling in and sharing your story with us. Appreciate it. And then as you've heard me say before to the other applicants, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of today's process, in terms of whether or not Governor Evers granted you a pardon, or if you've been, or you'll receive a denial letter, one of those two outcomes. But appreciate your time and hope you have a good weekend.
Very good, sir. I just want to add, before you had called, before I had done this, I had a long list of what I wanted to say and how I wanted to explain myself. And I don't know how to say it, but my tongue is twisted. I just was never good at doing this. But my life is not nowhere near where they used to be. I have turned everything around. And I feel, I just asking for another shot at this and a chance to redeem myself. I'm not the person I used to be 30 years ago. And with that, I thank everybody that's listening, and I thank you for taking the time.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Medrick.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Next we have, let me take a look here. We have Dominic McFerrin.
We heard him already.
Oh, we already heard him. Sorry. No, it's got turned around here. Ram Portman. Let me see. Ram, there you are.
Ron.
Ron, sorry, Ron.
Yeah, no problem.
Two stumbles in a row there. All right. Well, so thank you, Mr. Portman, for being here today. Appreciate it. You've seen how this works. So if you wouldn't mind, just proceed with in terms of talking about your 1992 criminal conviction and what's happened since 1992. I'm sure it's been a lot. And then we'll open it up for questions. So please proceed, Ron.
Thank you. My name is Ron Hortman. I am a father, a grandfather, a husband, and I am not the teenage boy I was in 1992. In 1992, I made probably the biggest mistake of my life, being a follower and not being the leader that my family and everyone instilled into me. I was with a group of friends and one of my cousins, and he needed money for something, and he decided that he wanted to snatch someone's purse. And I was driving, and at that time I I could have said, no, I'm not pulling over. I could have saved everybody trouble, but my loyalty to my friends at that time superseded everything that was instilled in me. I pulled over. He got out. He snatched the lady's purse. I never even seen it because I was parked around the corner. He just never came back to the car. We took off. The other friend came back and said that he really did it. And in my mind, I felt like, well, I didn't do anything, so it's not me. But again, I should have kept going. I shouldn't have stopped. And that's why I'm in the situation I'm in now. Because of that, I was party to a crime and a robbery. I've never been in any trouble before that, never been in trouble after that. I was sentenced to 4-year state sentence, 4 years probation, and 6 months in a Huber facility. I got off of my probation early because there was never any issues. I got the Huber because at that time I was in college to be a teacher, and the young lady that was my girlfriend is now my wife. We had our first child. So I believe that little family helped save my life because I was going through a lot. I was depressed. I got a job working for a bus company. I got my CDLs and all of that. And then they said they had to let me go because of the felony. I then in turn, I found something that was very interesting to me. I became involved in pest control. I got my license with the state. I got certified. A small company took a chance on me, and it taught me so much. And it instilled working hard into me. And when that company sold to a bigger company, I started my own company. I was doing work for the city, work for the state, and I ended up buying my first house with my wife and now 4 kids in 2003. My wife got a job offer to move to Florida in 2004. And when we moved with the assumption that I would be able to transfer my license to Florida to start my pest control company there. The company she was working for was going to give me all of the contracts for their business, but my license did not transfer to the state of Florida. So I had to work for another company for 2 years in order to get my license. So with the felony on my record, I wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. I then fell in love with stand-up comedy. I started hitting the open mic scenes. I got hired at a company. I got hired at Sprint Nextel, and I started getting better there. And I started getting better with the open mic scene. And ended up traveling the country doing comedy, working full-time doing comedy, working full-time at my day job, all while raising a family. I'm sorry I'm jumping all around trying to squeeze 30 years into 15 minutes. I have 4 kids. Right now, my oldest is 28, 26, 22, and 19. And I like to think that they became productive citizens because I use my lesson as a blessing to tell my kids what I went through so they'll never have to do it. My oldest son is involved with the Department of Juvenile Justice as a teacher. My second oldest son have 2 children, and he's raising his kids. He works every day. So I'm a happy grandfather with another grandchild on the way. My daughter is 19 and in college now. And my wife, we just celebrated 23 years of marriage. We've been together for 29 years. The transition from Milwaukee to Florida was tough. We had no family or anything. So, when a lot of those doors were getting slammed, I took a lot of losses. I lost my house in Milwaukee, trying to rent it out during all of that back and forth. But in the meantime, I'm a homeowner here in Florida. We have 2 dogs and a cat as well. I've raised the kids now. So now I'd like to really pursue my dream. And I told my kids never to give up on your dreams. And so I couldn't quit even when I wanted to. So now I want to try to supplement my income as far I want to try to get back into real estate, and I need a license to do that. I recently opened my company back up in Milwaukee with my brothers as far as the pest control, and COVID put a little damper on that, so it's moving slower than what we thought. But I've been living life, the ups and downs, and I would just like an opportunity to just move forward. And I do community service as far as I donate my time to certain events, Big Brothers Big Sisters, YWCA, Crack Up for Cancers. I do a lot of church functions, and recently, out of the kindness of the community's heart, my daughter, my oldest and my youngest have sickle cell anemia. She completely lost her hearing, and the community here, they put together a comedy show, a benefit for my daughter, and that just showed me and my family that we're really a part of a community. It's embarrassing when people find out about this, but I'm just a regular guy that made a mistake as a boy. I'm not that young man anymore. I raised my kids. I'm a father to my children. My kids are responsible. I've been married almost 25 years, and I just think I paid my debt to society, and I would love a clean slate.
Thanks, Mr. Hortman. Any questions for him? All right. Well, thanks for appearing with us, Ron, and being thorough in your presentation.
Thank
and
you.
hope you have a good day and good luck on the comedy circuit.
Well, you know what? Thank you so much. Let me shut up right there. Thank you so much.
It's always good to know when to stop, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. Next, we have on our agenda, we'll be hearing from, let me see if we have him, Jason Vogel. So Jason, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. All right.
Hello.
Thanks, Hello. Well, you've seen how this works now, Mr. Vogel. So now's your opportunity to talk about your felony convictions and explain the circumstances. And it would be helpful to hear about in terms of each of them, so we have full context, and then what happened afterwards, and now why you're appearing before us today. So please proceed.
Excellent. So first off, I know everybody says it, but the tale of two lives. As a young man, I was hanging around the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things. I got a felony conviction, party to a crime of burglary. I happened to hop in a car with a couple guys that I knew from high school who were planning on breaking in a home of one of their friends' fathers for dreams of riches or whatever. Happened to be in the car, never even went in the house. We were not great criminals. Our car was seen. We were caught within maybe an hour. I was 19 at the time. They were both 15. I got charged as an adult. So that's where that came from. And then I was also an avid pot smoker as a youth. I look back now and I think I was undiagnosed ADHD, which I still have to this day. I feel like that really marijuana had helped me as a youth to kind of control my thoughts. I ended up getting caught with it multiple times. So I got the enhancer twice. Both of those convictions, I had less than 2 grams of pot on me. Since then, raised 2 kids. I've always worked in the restaurant business. Halfway through, maybe 10, 15 years ago, I was promoted to management by fellow workers who thought that, I was a good fit for it. I've pursued that. I was a bar manager to my local country club for I was up at Rare Steakhouse in Madison. I've moved into the fine dining. Restaurant manager at Geneva National, to the Hunt Club Steakhouse, one of the finest steakhouses in Wisconsin. Throughout that time with my felonies, it's always been really hard. For the longest time, I would always have to schedule a licensed bartender with me on premises just to make sure that I was covered. Since then, I have actually gone to the licensing boards of my community and explained my situation and things, and have been granted bartending licenses. Always promote safe drinking, safe service, never had a problem. Still to the youth now, manage, the practices and the procedures that we go through. I've always instilled in my kids, I'm 100% open book to everybody. I've let them know all my mistakes. Hopefully they haven't. They're 22 and 24. The kids, my biggest, proudest achievement. I guess what I'm looking for is, to further my career. I think I've got pretty far for a person with my record. I'm pretty proud of the steps and the strides that I've made. I am a homeowner, taxpayer in my community. And I'm just looking, this is a blessing. I never thought this day would come. I'm just looking to further my career, and, it's always the underlying secret in my life, everybody, I'm pretty forthright, but it's always, will they find out every day? You can't go back, you can't change the past. All we can do is move forward. I just try to make a better tomorrow than I was.
All right, thanks, Mr. Vogel. Any questions from the board? Cindy?
Just a clarification, Mr. Vogel, you said
ma'am.
you waited in the car and never went in the house, but when I read the criminal complaint and they interviewed one of the juveniles who was with you, he said that you and the two juveniles all went inside the home. And then when they interviewed you, according to the detective, said that the account that juvenile had given was correct. So I'm a little confused because the record we have says you did enter the home.
Right. Yes, the two defendants did testify against me. At the time, I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure my mindset of who I was a kid was just trying, I was just trying to get it over with. Honestly, as a child, 21, I really was a very careless youth. So in my defense, again, it was 20 plus years ago. I would imagine, looking back, that it was just, I didn't want to talk to the police. Whatever you said, sure, I did it. Let's go. Kind of who I was as a youth, honestly.
Okay.
They were one of the individuals. I mean, what I found out later is he was on a spree of robberies. I believe he ended up going to prison shortly after. I think he got convicted. I had heard of maybe 5 or 6 burglaries. So it was just, that was the one I was there for. And like I said, all I can think of now, I do remember vividly that I did not go in the house, but at the time, who I was as a youth talking to the police, I would have just waved it off and said, I didn't really want to talk. So, and I was always, as a youth, whatever you're going to give me.
Okay, just one more comment
Yes,
or
ma'am.
question. So in the application process, it's not required, but it's encouraged that applicants submit letters of support, and you chose not to. Can you tell us why you chose not to gather any letters?
Just for me, that's me, and I don't want to put that burden on anybody. I have multiple people that I could have asked. I just, frankly, a bit embarrassed. Kind of hard. So for like when I worked at the country club, I did for 3 years. I did all of Paul Ryan's private events at his home. I know Paul pretty well when he was at the house. Probably a guy I should have asked for that, but again, my own pride. I I just wanted to do it on my own. I wanted to speak for myself. I didn't want, and feel like I should put that burden on anybody else. I do have I've asked for letters of recommendation for jobs and things like that, but this was a person that they could speak to that person. And frankly, it's embarrassing. It's for me, it's not who I am or who I represent now. And it's hard to go back and ask somebody to support, that guy who I was, honestly. It's just in my field of work, like I said, I've interacted with Eric Holder, Paul Ryan, Brian Stile, who is our new congressman. This is for Ron Johnson. I know a lot of these guys, but I wanted to do this on my merit. I didn't want to, feel like I was taking advantage of connections and relationships that I've built.
Okay, thank you.
Noble?
Mr. Vogel, I really do apologize. But Cindy O'Donnell asked a question, and based upon the audio, I could not hear what your response was.
Okay.
And the question was, did you or did you not go into the house? And I apologize if you responded to this already, but based upon the audio, I could not hear it. Could you please respond to that again? Because I could not hear your response.
Yes. Honestly, I did not go in the house, but I did have. So I was in the detective room getting questioned, and they came in with two statements that the other two individuals made against me. And at that point, like I said, who I was as a youth, I was a troubled child, if you would say. And I just didn't want to talk to the police. Whatever they told me, and if I had two statements on me that said I did this, I basically threw my hands up and said, well, that's what happened. And I just agreed to it, signed it just to get it over with. At the point, like I said, who I was, I could see the writing on the wall. If there was three of us involved and two of them were saying that I did something, what was my word going to do? Just, whatever. Sure, let's get this over with. Let's get the show on the road. They were both youths. I was an adult. So as I said, the writing was on the wall. As a young man, I had a problem with authority figures. I had a problem with police, and I just wanted to get out of the room. So basically my mindset was, if you said I did it, then sure, I'm not going to fight.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thanks, Mr. Vogel, for appearing before us. And, as you heard me say repeatedly this morning, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you for everyone.
All right, looks like we have two more applicants for this morning session. Our second to last one will be, looks like we have Brandon Hansnick. So Brandon, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself and turning your camera on. All right, Brandon, so as you've seen me say before, we've talked about the process, but if you can talk, in specifics about what happened in terms of your 2011 conviction, what happened leading up to that, why you ended up with that conviction, what happened afterwards, and why do you believe that you've earned the chance to receive a pardon? So please proceed.
Okay. I would like to start off. I'm very nervous. It wasn't until 2010. I was 16 years old. I was convicted with felony burglary, prior to a crime. Me and my so-called friend at the time broke into a high school and ended up stealing some money and, leaving it as that, as just leaving the school. It wasn't until, I think, like you said, 2011, 2012 was when I was convicted. I was 19 at the time. Part of my sentencing was, 150 days in jail, 3 years probation. Part of my probation was to write an apology letter to the school. I did do that. I completed probation. sorry, I stayed out of trouble. You know, I was never a troubled kid. I grew up, you know, hunting, fishing. At the age of 8, I used to build, I could tear down a complete car and rebuild it. Since then, you know, I went back to school, got my CDLs, completed a 3-week program at Diesel Truck Driving Training School. And, you know, I've been in the trucking industry for about 3 years now. Currently, as of right now, I'm not working. I was just diagnosed with hyperthyroid disease. And because of what's going on with my body, I have an elevated heart rate where I can't control it. Aches and pains in my knees, and they call it, or what the doctors say, it's called the thyroid storm. And I'm hoping soon that I can go back to work. I'm currently married, 2 kids, 11 and 5. I do deeply regret on what I did. The reason why I applied to get a pardon is, you know, I was young. I wasn't thinking, you know, I was a follower, and I didn't make, you know, very good decisions. And if I could get, you know, a second chance, you know, I would make the best of it. You know, I want to, you know, get my wife and my oldest, you know, through hunter safety, you know, teach them, you know, the rights and what you can do, what you can't do, and, you know, stuff like that. That's all I really have right now.
Thank you. Sorry to hear about your health challenges, and hope you and your doctor can get that figured out, Mr. Hansnick. Can you talk a little bit about, looks like the district attorney, when, you know, you send the notice, the district attorney responded, and noted in the response that you received 2 citations in 2016 for resisting or obstructing an officer. First, does that ring any bells? Sounds like it does. Can you two provide a little bit of context on what happened?
It does ring a bell. At that time, you know, I just completed probation. You know, I wasn't thinking very well. I lied on a police report, which is something you don't do. And that's pretty much all I have to say on that one.
Oh, what was the police report about? Why were the police questioning you?
That I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest. I just know that I lied on a police report, and the outcome of that was they cited me with 2 citations instead of, you know, charging me, which I was happy that I didn't get charged, but I was also, you know.
Okay. Questions from the board? All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Hansnick. As you've heard me say repeatedly, you'll hear from us in about a month, but I appreciate your time, and good luck with everything, and hope you have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
All right, our final applicant for this morning's session, looks like we have Rodney Poe. So Mr. Poe, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on and unmuting yourself. All right, so Mr. Poe, you've seen how this works. You've seen it a couple of times. So if you can start, describe how you ended up with your felony back in 1994, the circumstances of that, what happened afterwards, and why do you believe you've earned the opportunity to receive a pardon from Governor Evers? So Mr. Poe, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you for this time, Pardon Ward. First, I would really like to say that the crime that I was convicted of, I'm truly remorseful for. It's something that I would never want to have anyone live under, that type of fear or just danger. At the age of 16, let me start by saying I'm the 6th of 7 kids, 2 parents, all the same parent, raised in a strong Christian home. Out of all the kids, I'm the only one that went left. My father and mother pretty much raised us in church, raised us the right way to be responsible. And my father was the gate holder to our home. Everything was done properly, and I had dreams of being an attorney. Those were my first dreams as a kid. It seemed like some of my goals, I was always gifted in music, and some of my goals, what I really wanted to do was be in the law. Some of my goals were deterred. Seeing the struggle my dad went through early, just all of a sudden he got addicted to drugs. And this was a big shock because my dad is like a man's man. He is someone to look up to as far as a young man. And when he was battling his addiction to drugs, the gate came open at my home. And with my mother trying to work and look after the kids, I started hanging in different areas that just trying to fit in, just trying to find my way as a kid, just doing things I thought were cool or hip. Started hanging with older guys in the area. And basically, none of the things that the guys were doing or we were involved in or gathering for was not positive or community-based. We tried selling drugs or trying being involved in that type of behavior. On this particular day, two guys had approached us in the area of on Milwaukee on the north side, asking to purchase drugs, and we didn't have drugs. And me and about 4 other guys had made the decision to take their money. Very foolish mistake, very immature mistake. I was very young, again, 16. I was actually the youngest one and the only one convicted. I did take full responsibility for my actions. Again, a very scary time, something I would never want to see anyone go through. And it really turned my life upside down. I was placed on probation and given a state sentence. I was revoked on my probation for a marijuana charge that I was acquitted for. I then still was, because of the allegation, I was revoked. In getting out, I just wanted to reevaluate my life. I've always had the vision of getting back to the community, giving back to the kids from where I come from. Applied for a job at St. Charles Youth Development, went to school for human service, and just started chasing different goals, changing the people I've hung around. And ultimately, I wanted to do something with my music. I feel like it was a God-given gift to change the narrative in music, the message being from where I come from. It was kind of a reputation with me of being someone, a tough guy. I wanted to change that with my music. I'm an R&B singer now. I tour the world with Grammy-nominated group Teddy Riley, Blackstreet. I'm doing some phenomenal things in my life to show the change that can happen with being consistent and wanting better, not wanting to keep having prison stories or things like of that nature. I also, along with touring the world with the group, I've also been involved in a reform prison tour where I had the privilege to go to Waupun Maximum Correctional, and without a, how can I say, this clergy background or escort. It was just with me and my band, and we were able to go in there. I was able to share my story. A lot of the guys seen me in the system before, and to be that beacon of light to show them that there's hope, that if you chase your goals, you're serious about the things that you want. And so I've been involved in that, worked with, and currently working with Bader Philanthropy. Again, work with the groups at youth development places such as St. Charles. I also facilitated a group called Beating the Odds. And I'm the chairman of an affair called Black Excellence Affair, where we each year hand out awards to people that are doing great things in the community. and just trying to do everything that I can to change the narrative. My main thing was lyrics and the message in the music. For me, my background with music has been promoting love, promoting peace and harmony, kind of like the Stevie Wonder platform. And I'm just grateful to be in a position to where I'm becoming a household name, and I can speak about prison reform or the changes that can happen with being consistent and following your dreams. I'm asking for a pardon because this has affected my life for over 20 years. It's something that I knew that I took a part of, and I knew that I had to work hard if I ever wanted things to change. And my consistent path has just been to recreate the narrative of who I was, once thought to be. And now just being a household name as an entertainer is a blessing to me. I travel the world with the group Blackstreet, and as one of the lead singers. And whenever I'm looking on the dates and I see places that are restricting felonies or felons, it's a paranoia, it's a feeling that comes over me because they don't know my business like that. And it's just a big hindrance in countries like Canada, to be able to further, the positive message in music in my career. Also, I'm asking for it to further my life in the job areas to where I'll be able to, if I want to retire or stop doing music, I have something to fall back on. Because sometimes, even like through this pandemic, entertainers haven't had the opportunity to really tour and do those things. And it just would have been nice to really have something else substantial to fall back on. And I'm realizing how important it is and I don't think it's too late. I want to go to school and do something in entertainment and law. Just things of changing my life and progressing to really do something to make an imprint on people who are in my situation that I used to be in or that are headed that way. That's my main goal.
All right, thanks, Mr. Poe. And I forgot to mention before calling you on, Judge Jeff Kremers is recusing himself from you, as you heard earlier. He mentioned that earlier.
I was kind of heartbroken on that. It felt good to see Judge Kramer's face. He still looks youthful. He looks his hair was just darker. He was a great person, and yeah, I would have loved to have a word with him, but that's okay. I do understand.
Can you talk a little bit, Mr. Poe? You mentioned, the revocation for marijuana and the associated 1997 trial. Can you talk about in 2004, you had a first degree recklessly endangering safety that was dismissed, but it also was turned over to, kind of played out similarly. Can you talk a little bit about that? What happened there?
Yeah, basically that was my reputation, as people assumed me as being a tough guy, and my name was brought up in the allegation, which it was cleared up later. But by that time, it had already went to the probation and parole, and they judged it on a preponderance of evidence, and I was essentially revoked for that allegation.
Jerry?
Mr. Poe, you have a barbershop or had a barbershop in Arizona?
Yes, sir.
Do you still have that?
I don't live in Arizona now. I've actually relocated back to Milwaukee. Just tying up some loose ends with the pandemic, just being more hands-on as a father, just things that I kind of, not so much neglect, but could have spent more time on chasing my music career. But I'm still a master barber. I have barber stuff all over here where I'm at. I'm still a master barber. I do cut, but I'm not in a building cutting. So.
Okay, well, actually my question went to, you got something called a clearance card, clearance card in Arizona. What's that about?
A clearance card is for marijuana medical use. And it was a doctor's diagnosed me and gave me the clearance to use marijuana for medicinal reasons or medical reasons.
All right, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Cindy?
Mr. Poe, are you appearing at Summerfest today?
I am appearing at Summerfest today. I'm surprised you know about that. I am very elated. It's a big day for me. It's a big time. I have the stage at 7:30 at night till 9:30. I'm bringing the city together, other artists, and I do have Summerfest today. And tomorrow in Sun Prairie, I'll be in the Capitol Land Fest performing.
Well, you must be very excited. I'm sure you have a lot of friends and family joining you tonight.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Mr. Poe? Well, good luck performing at Summerfest. You have a big day, pardon board in the morning and Summerfest at night. So best of luck with that. As you've heard me say multiple times before, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but appreciate your candor with us today and best of luck.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our morning session. And so now I will be asking for a motion to move into closed session pursuant to sections 19.851A, D, and F of the Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberation concerning a case which is before the board, for purposes of considering specific applications, and for purposes of considering financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Is there anybody?
So move.
Noble first, Cindy second. Any opposition? Hearing none. We are moving into closed session, so I will.
I got addicted to crack cocaine and I did everything possible to get it illegally. I didn't have the drug charges of it, but I did all the fraud. I stole my parents' credit card. That's the credit card on here. I racked up over $6,000, I believe, on there. I got put into drug court for all these crimes and I did not succeed there. So I got sent to prison. I got a 6-year sentence in prison. I had 12 years total, 6 in, 5 out. I did 4 and I did the treatment in there. It was a 6-month early release treatment program. I passed. I did well. It really, prison changed me. If it wasn't for prison, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. I have not used since 2007. I've been clean of all substance. I got married and my husband is in recovery too. I work full time. I work at a place called Quick Trip. You guys probably don't know about Quick Trips, but maybe you do up there. I enjoyed my life. I've really changed. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am. I have loans out on my car. I mean, I would not be with if I didn't change. So my reason of wanting to be part of it, I love deer hunting and I can't deer hunt obviously without to own a gun or even a bow. So my husband and I like to do that together, and that's one of the major reasons why I wanted to be part of it.
All right, thanks, Ms. Espy. Questions from the board, and also just one other introduction. Judge Jeff Kremers is also just hopped on, and he's a former Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for a number of years. Any questions for Amy from the board? Jerry?
Ms. Epps, what's your relationship currently with your parents and your son?
They're good. My mom, she had a stroke not long. I was out of prison for 3 weeks and she had a stroke. So I take care of her. We're very close now. I know they were for me to get a pardon. My dad said he would be calling on my behalf, but we're very close. I mean, he helps me out. If I need a loan, he's there for me. We're very close. And my son and I, we're very close too. He has a child now and he got married. And I babysit for him. And yeah, my son and I were pretty close. And then my parents took care of my son because my addiction got so out of control, I never took them. I wouldn't pick them up when I was supposed to, and I wasn't a good mom, obviously. So we stayed close, and we're closer now that I'm clean and sober, and I see them pretty much every week.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Amy, for appearing here today. Appreciate your time and being candid with us. And as I said earlier, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process, but have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Thank you. And the one other, I always miss a housekeeping item. You do not need to stay on after you appear with us, so feel free to hop off. Next, we will be hearing from Benjamin Zimmer. Okay. So let me see. We have Benjamin with us. Nope. All right, we will wait. Then we will see, do we have Raymond Miller? Oh, there you are, Raymond. So if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, Raymond.
Okay, how do I unmute?
There should be a little microphone down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, and you can click on that. All right, we'll wait just a minute for you, Raymond. We'll go to the next applicant until we get it sorted out. So let me see. Looks like we have then Shane Robbie.
Hi there.
Hey, Shane. All right. Thanks for bearing with us while we have, it's always a challenge with Zoom, but so Shane, as you saw from the prior applicant, now it's your opportunity to share with us about your felony conviction and what's happened since then. So please proceed.
I was 21 at the time. Went out drinking with friends all day long. Made some foolish mistakes, got in the car to drive, and actually squealed the tires, and the cops must have been like right behind me or something, and I panicked and ran from them in a high-speed chase. They ended up catching me. I got an OWI and a felony eluding. After I was released, I started an AODA treatment before the judge or anybody asked for me to go get help or anything, and decided I needed time to straighten myself and get help. I went through the court case, got 2 years probation, restitution, paid all the fines and served my time. Kept the job the whole time I was on probation. Was with the company for 15 years. I just switched to a new company, actually. I got my CDL driving about 15 years ago, and pretty much don't drink anymore. Try to stay clean. You know, hard with the CDL. You got to keep yourself clean. So, wife and kid of 12 years. The boy's 11. Play sports. I can't think of anything else.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Any questions from the board for Cindy?
So you say you pretty much don't drink anymore. Do you not drink anymore, or do you drink on occasion?
I do not drink anymore.
Okay.
I had a couple relapses here and there, but it's been free and clear pretty much. Never.
For how long?
I'd say a good 5-6 years now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board? Jerry? You need to unmute yourself, Jerry.
I'm sorry, Shane, is it Rob or Robbie?
Robbie.
Robbie, okay. You were born and raised in Fond du Lac, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have any thoughts about what your drunk driving, what effect that might have had on the community? Because you were doing that right in the middle of town, right?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely, it goes through my head even still today that, you know, the things of what could happen, what, you know, how I could have changed people's lives. And I mean, there's countless things that could have been a lot worse than what actually happened if I went to stopped.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Robbie, for appearing here today. As you've heard me say before, you'll hear from us in about a month, but I appreciate your time and have a good weekend.
Thank you. You guys too.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Miller, sounds like we now got you, and
I think so. Can you hear me?
Just fine. So you had the benefit of hearing how this goes a couple of times. So now is your opportunity to tell us about your felony convictions and what has happened since then.
Well, my main problem was OWI. When I returned from the service after quite a few years, 17 plus, I used alcohol, and very wrongly. I did it completely, and I'm guilty. And I went to prison. I went through the programs more than they asked me to. I did extras, paid everything there was to pay, and I tried to make amends in somewhat. I volunteered for different things through the VA. And then what was the other one? How my sentence was?
Yeah, we want to know how your sentences went and why are you seeking a pardon today?
Oh, my sentences, I never had any disciplinary problems. And in fact, I think my probation officer helped me quite a lot. I mean, we're not bosom buddies, but we're quite friendly. No animosity or things. And then was there something else you wanted?
Oh, why are you seeking a pardon today?
Oh, I want very much to use my experience from the service to help people. I have been trained for years. I would like to offer free of charge a safety course along with small game hunting, because most people don't know that no more. They're kind of lost somewhere and they just get a gun and they think they're going to kill people. I would like to teach them small game hunting and varmint hunting, where they have some kind of structure where you don't just have a weapon and go nuts.
All right, thanks, Mr. Miller. Questions from the board? Cindy?
Mr. Miller, do you still drink alcohol?
I drink beer, but it's non-alcohol. It's
non-alcoholic beer?
Yes.
Okay, and how long has it been since you've had alcohol?
Oh, more than 10 years ago.
Okay, so I'm a little confused because you have a letter of support in your packet from a Dale Voss.
Yeah.
Who says that you still drink beer at home, but you've learned how to control your drinking.
No, it's non-alcohol beer.
So he's just confused about.
Well, he meant, it's the truth. I call non-alcohol beer beer.
Okay.
And when he would stop over, we'd have a beer, which was non-alcohol. Kingsbury non-alcohol or possibly Pabst non-alcohol,
Okay.
but
And
it's
do
called beer.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to clarify to make sure. And then do you still attend AA meetings a couple of times a week?
Now, I don't drive anymore, so if someone comes to, I live in the kind of in the country, and what I pretty much, I believe I am, how should I explain it? I believe that I can handle life again, because there was a time when I came home, I was lost. Now, I think I'm kind of, lack of other words, more grown up.
So I'm sorry, you had mentioned in your packet that you were attending AA meetings a couple of times a week. I'm sorry, do you still do that or not?
Usually only one time a week, because they changed it from the church here to Amherst, and then it's hard for me to get to the other one. So I go usually on Tuesday night.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you for meeting us with us, Mr. Miller. I'm glad we were able to get through the tech issues there. And as you heard me say before, you'll hear from us in about a month in terms of the outcome of this process.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. All right, and it looks like Benjamin Zimmer was able to join us. So Ben, if you wouldn't mind just turning your camera on and unmuting yourself. So Ben, to start things off with, if you can just describe how you ended up with a felony conviction, what's happened since then in terms of your completing your sentence, and why do you believe you've earned the chance to receive a pardon?
Well, first off, thanks for taking the time today to talk to me, guys. In 2012, I was arrested for selling marijuana. I was charged with multiple felonies. Throughout the court's proceedings moving forward, I ended up with one Class H felony, 100 hours of community service, and 2 years of probation. During probation, I didn't have any issues at all before or after. I completed my 100 hours of community service in the first year. So once I basically finished up with my probation, I learned that I was okay with construction and got into the construction field and moved forward with that. Did a lot of work with the schools and the food pantries for my community service, and I stuck with that thereafter as well with community service. Once completing all that, I even stuck with the food pantry afterwards, as long as they needed me there. Basically, if something happens to you, just want to let you guys know here, I'm kind of out in the middle of nowhere. My uncle passed away, and I'm currently stepped out of his funeral. But I didn't have intentions of doing this in my car, so if for some reason it cuts out, I'm very sorry. But since then, I've had no disciplinary actions with the police or any interactions at all in the case. I went to all required classes by the courts. I'd sit down, CPS, did all that stuff.
I think, Mr. Miller, it might work.
My job at the hospital with my heart and since when this all went down, so since then I started.
I think, Ben, if we're having a little bit of a hard time with audio connections, so
for me, all
right, well,
I acquired my license to be a dwelling contractor in the state of Wisconsin.
Ben? Ben, just one second. You're breaking up a lot. So I think looks like we just lost him. So we'll have Diane on our staff reach out and we'll have Ben call back in. And we'll start from the top. All right, next, since we don't have Ben, I think if you could just call back in, use the call-in number, that would work out better because your audio connection is really bad. All right, we will then, while Ben gets that sorted out, we'll go to Alicia Sorrell. So Alicia. There we go.
Hi.
Hi, Alicia. So as you've seen a couple of times, if you could just start by describing how you ended up with your felony conviction and then what happened in terms of the sentence and since then, and why you think you've earned the chance to receive a pardon from Governor Evers.
Okay. Well, I got a charge of possession with intent to deliver of cocaine, 1,000 feet within a school or correctional facility. Basically, I've struggled with drugs and alcohol pretty much my whole life up until then. And I kind of think of it as a blessing that I was entered into the legal system so that they really actually gave me the chance to straighten up and see like what my life was, where it was going, which was not really anywhere. Since I was arrested, I completed all of my sentences. I was released from probation early. I had a 10-year stayed withheld sentence, and I was actually released early from probation. And since then, I've just been working and trying to get better and better jobs and get promotions. I periodically attend Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and I also volunteer at Lucky 7 Dog Rescue. I basically wish to get this pardon because it's holding me back in the career department, honestly. I can't really go to school for anything that I want to because I mean, I can't even get like a caregiver's license in the state of Wisconsin at this point. And I just want to keep moving up in my life and the success aspect.
All right, thanks. Any questions for Alicia? Jerry, and then Cindy.
Yeah. Ms. Sorrell, I think I understand your drug problem during the time of this offense, but having the drugs in the jail, can you talk about that?
Yes, I actually was with an acquaintance and we had just picked up a bunch of drugs. He ended up getting pulled over and I had a warrant from a preceding OWI, I think it was. So I got arrested, and when I went into the jail, I had already had that on me. It was not like I planned to bring it there.
Where did you have it? Because as I read the complaint, you actually got it inside the jail. They didn't find it when you were booked, right?
Yeah, I had like a water bra on, and there's a pouch inside of there, so I had it in there. And since I wasn't there for a commitment, it was just like a random pickup. They didn't strip search me.
Okay. And then did you try and give the drugs to somebody else?
I mean, it says that in my case, but that's not true. I actually knew that girl before, and she was basically, I don't know, she was trying to get herself out of something. We had quite a few altercations before that. And I mean, honestly, she's passed away now because she didn't change her life at all.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Yeah, Ms. Sorrell, I read the letters from your mom and your brother. Can you just talk a little bit about what, just beautiful letters? I just wonder what their support has meant to you.
Honestly, it's meant everything to me. I'm sorry. Just, I don't know, like what I would have done if it weren't for them. They've been like a huge support system for me, and I am so grateful and thankful that that I have them.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you emotional there, but thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, thanks, Ms. Sorrell, for appearing before us. I know it's not easy to do this just normally, and especially doing it online isn't the best of formats, but you know, I will say the good thing about this is that it saves everybody a trip to Madison, and you can get back to the rest of your day. So thank you for appearing with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Well, thank you. You too.
All right. Looks like we'll try you again, Mr. Zimmer. So I think if you can just unmute your, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. That's a lot better. Sorry about that. And I know it's not an easy circumstance doing this from the parking lot, but I think it might work best, Mr. Zimmer, if you could just start, we'll just do a redo completely and just start from the very beginning. So, you know, again, talk about, you know, how you ended up with this felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you think you've earned a chance to receive a pardon.
Okay. So in 2012, I was arrested and charged with multiple felonies, which you guys have record of. I was part of a sting operation where someone else was driving marijuana from California to Wisconsin and got pulled over. Basically, the situation came, you know, tell us where it's going or you're going to get in more trouble type of situation. And he basically wouldn't tell them where they went. So they did the next best thing and kind of busted the people that he was going to meet. However, according to the police report, they decided that they were just going to arrest one person, and that was unfortunately me. They placed all the marijuana in my garage, and I was arrested on my way home from my RN clinicals. Afterwards, I took a plea agreement that left me with one Class H felony, 100 hours of community service, and 2 years probation. As soon as I started probation, you know, I hit the ground running. I completed my community service in the first year, working in the Onalaska Food Pantry. And like I said before, even after my completion, I still worked in the Onalaska Food Pantry, volunteering my service. I never had any issues or disciplinary actions against me throughout probation or since. This offense is not my only one, or is my only one. I've had no other charges against me since this incident. I went to all required classes given by the courts. I had sit-downs with CPS to make sure I was a good parent. After 2 years, I was released from probation. During this, I lost my job at the hospital due to my arrest and charges. So I started working in construction, and I once again hit the ground running, learned the trade, and after a couple of years, I became a licensed dwelling contractor in the state of Wisconsin, and I opened my own construction and remodel business, and I've been busier than ever year after year. I continue to give back to my community through benefit donations, fundraisers, paying it forward, and volunteering at local schools. I coached girls fast pitch softball for the Onalaska Park and Rec for multiple summers. I have 3 wonderful children, 15, 16, and 19, and a wife I've been with for 17 years. I've made a positive impact, not only for myself and my families, but for others as well. You know, I provided plenty of positive letters in my favor, and also the judge signing off, knowing I was a good person that made a life-changing mistake. You know, I do take actions for my responsibility. I do take responsibility for my actions. Once arrested, you know, I refused to blame others, just accepted my fate. You know, I was guilty. I knew I was guilty. I was selling marijuana. I worked very hard to clear my name and make people around me proud. I'm a great dad and husband, and no matter what the outcome here, I'm still a lucky man from where I am in life. I guess the main reasons I'm asking for this pardon is because I'm very involved in the medical field before my arrest. I was a volunteer firefighter and EMT basic before starting my school as an RN. My wife is an RN. I would once again like the possibility to pursue a career in the medical field. Being construction is so hard on the body, and one day it'd be great to finish school and walk the stage. I'm also an avid outdoorsman and have raised my family as such. We hunt and fish, and I'm hoping to get a pardon so I may once again take part in the gun deer season with my friends and family. Those two reasons alone are what's pushing me. However, I have learned to live with my mistake, and I have always taken full responsibility for my actions, and I will continue to keep pushing forward no matter the outcome of this. I know I'm a good man and I've made mistakes, so I just want to thank you guys again for taking the time to meet with me.
Thanks, Mr. Zimmer. Questions from the board? Jerry?
Mr. Zimmer, in 2012, you were dealing a fair amount of marijuana and had a system established, right? I mean, this guy who was delivering the drugs from California, you had arranged for that delivery. I know you disagree about the amount, but there's no doubt that you had arranged to have this marijuana delivered to your house. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Just in a very, very smaller portion than what was actually delivered. Yes, I take full responsibility for that. I was selling marijuana at the time. And this was a friend of mine who was living in California, and he was making multiple trip backs, not just for me. Like I said, there was multiple people in his operation. I was just kind of one of the guys that, kind of ran into him when he came into town in a sense.
Right. Okay. So you're involved in the marijuana trade. When you're arrested, the police find two fully loaded magazines of .40 caliber ammunition in your car. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when they search your house, they find an AR-15 and a .40 caliber pistol with loaded in your closet. And then
none of the guns were loaded.
I'm sorry, the complaint says they found a .40 caliber pistol loaded in your closet and a high capacity magazine with 30 rounds. That seems like a lot of bullets.
So when they found, and they pulled me over, they found the two clips, but there was no firearm in my car at that point. So we were at the gun range prior to that, and I just had the two magazines in my car. There was no gun in my car during the pullover. And at my house, yes, they did find an AR-15. They did find a .40 caliber Glock. All, like I said, I don't know why it was in there that it was loaded, because it wasn't. They were all unloaded, cased, and in my name. None of them were illegally possessed. None of them, like I said, were loaded. I have kids in the house. They were all cased.
Well, okay, so what about the loaded high capacity magazine they found in your house?
They just found a loaded magazine. It wasn't a loaded gun. It was just a magazine that had rounds in it.
A high capacity, 30 rounds.
Well, it was a 30 round clip. There was 28 in there. Like I said, we were just at the gun range earlier, and we missed that clip is all it was. Otherwise, that clip would have been shot off at the gun range, just like the other ones.
Well, but the clip, the high capacity magazine, was supposedly secured in your house. You had not been at the gun range. That was in your house.
Yeah, we were at the gun range earlier that week. We were at the gun range is what I was saying. All the guns were at the house. Yes. When the police arrested me, I told them where all the guns were, showed them exactly where they were, and let them know that they were all obviously in my name and unloaded. So I told them where they were because we were at the gun range earlier in the week. And that's the only reason they were loaded. I didn't normally keep loaded firearms in my house. I didn't worry about, what the assumption is here is that I had firearms in my house to protect myself from other dealers or of that nature, I'm assuming, but that wasn't the case at all here. As I stated too, I'm an avid outdoorsman. So, just because I had the Glocks and the AR-15, which is a high caliber firearm, it's not necessarily for the protection or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions from the board? All right, well, I'm glad we were finally able to connect. Mr. Zimmer, my condolences for you having to do this during your uncle's funeral. And
just
thank
happened
you
that
for
way.
your time.
So I guess, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So like after this meeting, what happens next, I guess?
Sure. Yeah. So we'll be meeting in closed session. And then if you receive majority support from the board, your application will go to Governor Evers. He'll make a final determination. If you don't receive majority support, or if the application goes to Governor Evers and he declines to grant you a pardon, you'll receive a denial letter and you'll be able to reapply in 18 months from the date of the letter. You will find out about the outcome of this process in about a month from today.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate this. I can't state that enough. I'm very thankful for this opportunity alone, no matter the outcome. So.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Zimmer.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we will be going to, looks like there you are, Tom. So Tom, is it Posian or Pokian?
It's Potion. Can you hear me?
Potion. Third time's the charm. All right.
Yep.
So Tom, please proceed. You've seen how this has gone a couple of times. So now's your opportunity.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, I was 17 years old when I got my conviction, or I turned 18 at that point. I was with a friend and they came from a party and somebody stole checks from their babysitter. And we were at a party and they said, hey, it'd be fun to write out checks for millions of dollars and blah, 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 blah. And we just went and ended up doing it. And we cashed a check at the Pick and Save and stuff like that. And they cashed them. So we thought it was cool. So we did a couple more. And I didn't realize the severity of what it was at that point in time. And then we stopped doing it. And then it was about 3 months later, I talked to my mom and told her what we did. And she said, well, you should turn yourself in. So which we did do. I went down to West Bend Police Department, turned myself in, and they didn't know what it was for, nothing. So I had to explain to them what it was all about and what I did. And they actually sent me home because they didn't know what to do yet. And then they called me back in and then they booked me. And then I went in front of the judge and he gave me a felony for writing a bad check. So at that point, I just still didn't think what it was. So I got probation and restitution. And I was 3 years on probation. So I served that. And at the same time, I paid my restitution back. And then my probation officer, name was Tom, and he was working with me he said he was going to do all the paperwork. And we're going to get this taken care of so that I could continue to be able to hunt with my family and stuff to that order. And so I believed in what he said and stuff. And we went through my 3 years of probation. Everything went good. In the meantime, I had 2 kids, raised them. They're both, one's 34 and one's 33 now. Always worked. And then up until about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, I thought I was pardoned with anything that I could still be able to hunt. And so I went under the assumption that because I bought licenses. And then when it came out with the new computer system, I bought licenses through all that stuff too, which was supposed to tell them if they had deadbeat parents that weren't paying child support and for convicted felons. And I assumed that my probation officer did a job. So at that point, I just kept hunting. And then at some point down the road, when it came up to, I think it was 2012 or 13, whatever it was like 12 years ago. And an officer and a game warden showed up at my house and said if I had registered 2 deer back in the 90s, 92 and 94, something to that order. And I said, yeah. And he said, did you shoot him with a gun? I said, yes, I did. And he said, well, you're not supposed to have a gun. I didn't realize at that point until then that nothing did happen back in the future and when I was 17. So I came back with this and then we ended up going to court. And then I got 2 possession felony for shooting 2 deer, for registering 2 deer. And then after that point, the judge at the end of the thing, judge ended up giving me a $200 fine, no probation or nothing like that. And I came to this point now where I did all the paperwork. And since then I've been working. I run my own business. I took it over from my family business from my father. And I've been running that for the last 15, 18 years. And other than that, this came up finally where I was able to get something sent into you guys and stuff after the last one, to wait that long to be able to do it. And I'm glad that I actually have an opportunity to come in front of everybody with it. I screwed up when I was young, and I'm hoping that after 35 years, I got a chance to get my rights back, especially for my business. Cause I know when I get CCAP'd, customers can see that you have a record, and sometimes that can not help me get certain jobs. So at that point, I was bringing it to you guys' attention that I run a business and everything in that order. And the reason why I'm looking to get pardoned is due to that fact, so I don't have to have that on there, that it would show that I'm not a convicted felon if customers look me up. And I know it might still show up, but it might show that I was pardoned from it. And that's the biggest thing, to keep my business rolling that way. I still do a lot of hunting, but it's all with archery since that conviction. So I wouldn't mind my family, my sons, everybody all still hunt. And I don't go up north anymore. I just stay home. So to that point, that's, if you guys have any questions for me, I'm kind of nervous, so let me go that way.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mr. Potion. Any questions for him? Oh, well, looks like you get off easy today. Thanks for being very thorough, both in your application and in your presentation, and hope you have a good weekend.
Excellent. Thank you very much for seeing me.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. And next we will go to Darby Reamer. So if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself.
Hello.
Hello. Well, now's your opportunity, Darby, you've heard how this goes in terms of being able to, talk about how you ended up with your felony conviction, what happened afterwards, and why you believe you should receive a pardon. So please proceed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Darby Rimmer. In 2009, I ended up with, it's a couple of felonies, but some of them are misdemeanors as well. I really don't know how the system go. This was my first time being in trouble with the law. I was about 37, 38 years old, maybe 39. It was in 2009, and I was with my sister-in-law, and she had different IDs and out shopping and so on and so forth. Well, anyway, she ended up with 8 years in prison. I ended up with 2 years probation. I wasn't eligible for early release. I wasn't eligible for no programs, but I did successfully do my probation with no problems. I was working at the time, and people from the jobs and my family, they had wrote letters to the judge and so on and so forth. But since then, I continued to work in the same field. I'm a cook, a chef. Well, I'm not really a chef. I'm a cook. I'm a head cook. And I worked in different facilities. I worked in the jails, the hospitals, the schools, nursing homes. Wherever you have a cook position, that's where I'm at. I'm in a school setting now. This is all I know. I've been cooking since 1996. I run the kitchen. I order the food. I do everything. I'm grateful that I do have a job. But at the same time, I would like to have a better opportunity with different jobs and higher statuses. This was very painful to me because this was my first time being in trouble with the law. I have 3 children. I have a husband that I've been married to for 25 years, which this was his sister that got me involved in this offense, and this is how I became a felon. It was like my first time. I'm older, I'm wiser. It's not a pattern for me. You can look at my record and see I did everything I was supposed to do. So I was asking if I could have a pardon, because people hold this against you, especially employers. Like the gentleman said, they CCAP you. They don't care what my resume say or what I tell them, but when they CCAP you, they like hinder you. You know, it's it's limiting my opportunity because of what they see under my name. I want to put this behind me. You know, as I said, I completed probation on time. You know, it's hurtful. It's dishonest. I was wrong. I was with someone, so I already know all of this. And, you know, it's an emotionally thing. I'm always thinking about this. I can't get ahead because it's like I'm stuck. I'm hindered because I have this felony over my head. You know, I want to be more of a team player. You know, I want to share more tasks and do different things on my job and in my field that I can't do because people think, misappropriation use of an ID, it has stuff to do with people's names and personal information and stuff, and they don't want me to be messing around. So it's like I'm limited, I'm stuck, you know, and I want to advance in the workplace. You know, I want to be more productive. And I just don't know. And I'm a good person. I got good values and everything. I've been working ever since then, always in the same field, even since my crime. Nothing has changed. Some people will give me a chance, and somebody, you know, won't give me a chance. It's not a violent crime. I understand that. I understand what I did was wrong. I'm responsible for my actions and everything. But I would like to know if I can have a pardon, you know, because this would be like a relief to me. I can move forward and I can advance myself and do better. I would like to work more which I am in a school setting right now, but I'd like to get more involved in the education environment setting with people and, you know, because that's what I know. That's what I love. You know, one day I would like to start my own daycare center, but I can't do that because certain things is going to be limited to me. So that's why I'm asking for a pardon.
All right. Thanks, Ms. Rimmer. Cindy?
Good afternoon, Ms. Rimmer. Yeah, this was a pretty sophisticated identity theft ring. I mean, you had the cooperation of a DMV employee, making false IDs, people that all around the country, really. And one of the things that struck me in looking at your application and then again listening to you here today is you don't really ever mention the victims and the impact on them. Can you share with us, do you recognize the devastation to their lives of having their identity stolen and their credit ruined? Can you talk about that?
Yes, I understand. This was something I was pulled into. I am responsible for Darby's actions. Don't get me wrong. I was pulled into it, and other people, I understand. Yes, because when I talked to some of the people or heard what they had to say, I messed up people's lives because people didn't know they didn't know what was going on. They had to try to figure out how to convince people or let people know who this is me and this isn't me, you know, so for their identity. So I do understand I messed up a lot of victims' lives. I did. And it was just something I tried or I got pulled into, and it ended up like this and I became a felon. But I'm not a bad person. And as you look at my record, this is my first time being in trouble. And I've never been in trouble before then. And after that, I've always worked, and I'm still working. It was just something I did, and I done messed up.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry for what I did. I had to write a letter to the people. I had to pay fines. I did my probation, and I don't know, just wrong place, wrong time.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Ms. Rimmer. Appreciate you meeting with us today. As you've heard me say a couple of times today, you'll be hearing from us in about the next month or so in terms of the outcome of this process.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right.
I appreciate your time today.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. All right, and I do know, just checking with Diane to see if, all right, so one of the victims was intending to call in, but wasn't able to, but we did receive contact information, or we did receive information from 3 of them in that case. All right, and so because, and we have her input. So And with that, we are through all of our applicants. So let me just pull up. I think now it's time to meet in closed session. So if anybody's willing to make a motion to go in closed session for the reasons listed on the public meeting notice under 19.85 sub 1 paragraphs A, D, and F of the Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberating on a case before the board, considering specific applications and considering financial, medical, social, and personal histories of specific persons. Is there a first?
So moved.
Jeff makes a first. Is there a second? Noble, anyone opposed? Hearing none.